I got stuff for you.
Holy moly. I need to get some snakes and release them around my house.
But they love eating people. They love eating kids.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
Every day that you open your mouth,
I know, right?
I'm more convinced that you're abducted by aliens.
No.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
These are idiots.
I was laughing reading this because I already knew how you would feel.
Idiot. What part of the story fits your balloon?
Well,
This isn't a UFO. But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Well, Mothman.
Oh, yeah, Mothman.
Well, everyone, I think we know exactly what it is. So say it all with me. It was the Sandhill crane.
Would you try it?
No.
You wouldn't eat it?
No.
Why?
Because they're probably toxic. There'd be a lot of poop in my pants. I've seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree. Welcome back to Cryptids of the Corn podcast. I am the great and powerful Mystery.
And I'm J Clone 47.
47.
I thought you were licking your lips like you just had some Bigfoot breath flavors of the forest garlic dust.
Yeah, it's a great sponsor of the show and it's a great product. No joke. I literally just made kebabs today we're recording this with it.
It's delicious, wasn't it?
First time I ever made kebabs. It was really good.
What kind of?
Did you see the pictures of the kebabs?
Yeah, they look fine.
Did you see my kebab?
I'm sure I can guess which one was yours.
Did you seen the pictures?
Yeah.
So they had onions and peppers and all that stuff on it.
I was confused why there was onions.
Because that was Ramley's.
Okay.
My kebab was the big
Meat.
big stick of just meat.
Yes.
Yeah.
What flavor of Bigfoot breath?
Lion's
did you use?
mane.
Nice.
Which is the new flavor. If it's available, get it. It's very seasonal. It's very limited. You can get the new Bigfoot. You give the whole shout out.
What were you? If you get the new,
Go get the new
flavors.
Lion's Mane.
Oh, gotcha.
Bigfoot breath, garlic seasoning.
Dust. Yes.
Garlic dust.
Yes. Speaking of, I was gonna say taking a bite of things.
Well, I heard lion's mane mushroom attract some flying predators every once in a while.
Oh wow!
But we're not alone tonight.
Nice transition.
I try. No, we're not alone tonight.
We are joined by a guest on the show today, newer listener to the podcast, but she's coming on to share a encounter where she got a recording, she got a video,
And plus some of our own research.
and you did a little bit of a breakdown of this video on another show.
So this is one of those things. What do you call it? Serendipity or
Synchronicity.
I know I hate that one.
I know you do.
But serendipity, I think, is another similar word.
Sure.
Where the confessionals reach out to me to do a review. So whenever they do like a biology video or something like that, now they reach out to me kind of deal.
Mhm.
Love Tony, love Joel, love the whole crew.
On the Confessionals podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like a week and a half later, this amazing person reached out to us through Cribs and Coffee. So go ahead.
So welcome to the show, Alex. Welcome, Alex.
Hello. Hey guys.
Good job shouting out Alex Photographer.
Well, I'm going to. Right
Okay.
now. So with Alex joining us, she does have an Instagram handle where you can check out her photography. It is, I'm just going to spell it out first. It's ASHAE_photography, which spells ASHAE _photography. There we go.
Great
Not
job.
ASHAE.
Alex, thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited.
And I want to formally apologize for how long it took to start this episode. We all had several issues occur
Yes.
right at
All at
the
once.
very beginning of
The
this.
trifecta.
Alex was just like miming to me for the first like 8 minutes. I'm just hoping you can hear the hints, like the helpful things
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you. I
He's
have
like,
no
I don't
idea.
know if you can hear me, but if you can, go to your settings, do this. I'm like, okay, just 1 minute, 1 minute.
And Jay got his flight canceled for the national bowling tournament like 10 seconds before he's supposed to leave.
But we're good now.
It's all fixed now.
Yeah.
And
I was
he's
pacing the yard.
yeah,
You
scaring
might
the
have
quail.
to fix that trench.
Scared the quail to death.
And that was that. Something else.
Oh yeah, raccoons.
Yes.
No, so
Pulled their heads off to death.
the video, like when anybody, so this is our first kind of time really doing this much video, visual stuff in an episode. So how this will work is there'll be a video audio episode on the YouTube.
Ooh, exciting.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
We've had pictures a couple times. Normally, when it's just a couple pictures, I just post them on the Facebook or the Instagram with the episode.
Right.
You have a lot of stuff.
I feel like this was really special. And I try to tell people like before I start that I could have probably got a really great picture with my good camera, like just one good shot. And maybe that would have like proved it to everybody. But I fortunately got a live photo, which made a series of pictures, but was also a video. And I think that was just like the best part about it, was being able to get so many different angles of it moving. So I thought that was, everyone's all upset. A professional photographer took these. These are horrible quality. And I'm like, well, I was using my iPhone 10. I wasn't using my Canon. So
Yeah.
I was
said
even
the
lucky
exact
to get
opposite.
these pictures. So
So the live photo was a blessing in disguise.
I said
amen.
the exact
Yes.
opposite about the photos. They're great.
Oh.
And to me, they're 100% before, we reached out to
Yeah,
you.
I agree.
I said it was a biological entity. And we'll get into that breakdown and stuff like that, because I did that without talking to you, without knowing you. I just
Correct.
was sent a video clip and gave my opinion on the video clip.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, to me, 100% a biological entity. But, we'll break into what
It
that
appears
could
to be.
All right.
All right. So I don't know how you want to start this, how you want to do this. It's all up to you.
Yeah. So I can kind of tell you like a little bit about the park, and I learned a lot more today. This property is, I think it's 1,075 acres is what the property actually is. And a gentleman by the names of James Morgan Walker, he actually owned the land, and he purchased it. Let me see. I'm trying to think of when he did.
And I have,
It was in 1834 that this gentleman purchased 2,000 acres. He had about 100 horses and mules, and unfortunately, he also had slaves. So this park actually starts, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or not, but Jayhawks and Missouri Tigers have a really big rivalry. Well, back then, these people were actually the ones that started the whole Jayhawk thing, and there was these people called bushwhackers, and they would go to different properties that had slaves, and they would try to, free the slaves and help the slaves. Well, this gentleman that was sent with a bunch of I can't even say the word, but
Abolitionists.
Yes, those people. Yes, he was sent with these people to this man's property out at Burr Oak Woods, where I've captured some of this stuff, and ultimately changed his mind at the last minute. And he warned the gentleman who owned the property. He warned, I think, one of his family members, and they were prepared, and they actually killed all those other people that were sent. So that kind of started this whole rivalry. So I know there's actually people who have died on the property that were, part of the war. This gentleman obviously had slaves on the property as well. These homes that were built on the property were then deconstructed and taken to another place called Missouri Town that's really close here in Blue Springs, and they were rebuilt. So you can actually go and see the houses that were originally on the property at Burr Oak Woods. It's a very large property, has a lot of weird stuff going on out there, more than I thought there was. I had already had like Sasquatch type experiences. And there's another part called Monkey Mountain. And I knew for sure there was stuff out there because there's a gentleman who researches out there. I actually heard recently from Flint Paranormal, this lady said that there's a gentleman who goes out there who will shoot you off of the property area that he hunts for Sasquatch. So I knew there was stuff out there, but I didn't really know that it was at Burr Oak Woods. And now I'm just finding out more and more. There's also rumored to be gold out there, which I find very interesting. It's rumored to be a lot of gold, apparently, that he stashed all throughout Burr Oak Woods. And, before all this stuff went down. So they have his gravestone there inside the nature center, actually, with all the pictures that I sent you earlier of the stories and whatnot. So like I said, I've been going out there for a very long time, since I was a teenager. I'm 34 now, and I've probably been going out there since I was probably 10 or less, with my school, and then just like by myself and with my family and friends. And just most recently, we've been hearing monkey sounds. I've been getting weird bare footprints that I've been finding, and it'll just be one. It's not multiple. It's just this one random footprint, So the more I kept going on these trails and finding more weird stuff, it just kind of snowballed. And then next thing I know, I'm at home. I just thought I wouldn't say a normal trail walk. We think we had a Sasquatch sighting experience. I don't know how to explain it. It was pretty intense, and I can tell you guys about it. But that night when I went home, I had taken 2 pictures of this field, and I had noticed that there was something big and black in the middle of one of the pictures. And I thought, what in the world is that? And I was going to post my trail walk that me and my son went on, because that's what I do every time. I take a bunch of pictures, and then I post them. And I was like, what in the world is that? And so I just kept zooming in. And I thought, what the heck? And that's that one that looks like everyone says it looks like a bat. That's the first thing everyone will say whenever I show them the picture. They're like, that's a bat. That's a man in a wingsuit. I've heard a manta ray, which I guess in the one picture where it's shaped kind of like one, I guess, because it does look like it doesn't look the same sometimes in the pictures. And that's kind of confusing to me as well.
We'll talk about the manta ray thing here later.
Okay. And then we also got where we think that it laid down in the grass, which I thought that was probably the coolest thing. So
we have go back all these pictures that you sent in. They will be displayed as we go through on the YouTube and stuff like that. I'll also post them with your permission on Facebook along with this episode. But this is going to be definitely one that if you have a chance to go to the YouTube and kind of watch us go through this, it's going to be worth it. You sent so much stuff. It's amazing.
I agree. Yes. Thank you. I've been doing this for not very long. I guess field research. I've been doing my own personal research for the last year, but really doing field research, I would probably say just like the last couple months. So, and it's been a lot. And I didn't think that I would be sitting here today talking to you guys about crazy winged creatures.
But yeah, so you take the lead.
Yeah, sure. So to kind of start out, we have been going on this Bethany Falls Trail, which is a limestone trail, and it's beautiful. We went out there today again and took my son's friend, but we go out there a lot, and we had been on this trail for a long time, and we had this really weird experience with what I call the men in black. It was just one gentleman by himself, made us extremely uncomfortable. It was dark. He was wearing all black. He was bald. It's a very uncomfortable situation for me and my son. Kind of what happened was we were leaving, going to the end of the trail. This gentleman happened to be coming on the trail as the park was closing. It was pitch black. Like I said, he was wearing all black. He passes by us, and I just felt really uncomfortable. I didn't understand why he didn't nod at us or acknowledge us. Usually people, if they don't say anything, they might nod their head. This gentleman did not. He continued to keep walking, and I told my son, I think he had a headphone in. Maybe he didn't want to talk to us, I just tried to look at it like that. And then next thing I know, my son just gets this weird feeling, and he turns around to look at this gentleman, and he was actually turned around and walking towards us. My son acknowledges that and said, "Mom, he's turned around and he's coming at us." And as soon as my son says this, the gentleman just is like really deep, like makes this weird noise and just like kind of lunges at us. And my son just runs. He completely freaked out. We've never had a weird experience with a person on that trail. He's running. I had this huge walking stick, and I was thinking, oh my God, if this guy really tries to like do anything, I'm gonna, at least I have a stick, I was like, don't freak out, just try to be calm. We tried rationalizing that situation for a really long time because it was weird, but it wasn't. We just tried to think how it could have just been normal and just not think about it as deep as we did. But come to find out, I go and do all this research after finding this picture of this winged creature. This lady named Margie Kay, she writes books on, she calls them winged, she like demon alien kind of things. But I was trying to reach out to her to see if she, was interested in my pictures. And upon Googling her, the first article that pulls up whenever you Google her is Creepy Burr Oak Woods Entity. And it's a story about a gentleman who had a very similar experience to me and my son with coming upon a clearing in the woods, finding a gentleman who was wearing gray slacks and a black short sleeve t-shirt in 20 below degree weather with his back towards the man. He said he walked a few steps forward, tried to interact with the man. He thought the man would turn around and say hello. The man ended up not doing that. He said he instantly felt dread, felt weird. He backed up. He said he got about 100 yards away from the gentleman when he put up his binoculars. And he said when he put up his binoculars, that's when the man turned around. And he said it was as if he noticed that I was looking at him through the binoculars, like he knew I was looking at him. And he said it was the most evil looking face he had ever seen on a human being. And he said he had 2 bad knees and he hightailed it out of there. And he's like, I used to go walking in that place all the time. And he's like, but I'm gonna tell you right now, he's like, do not go to Burr Oak Woods alone. Like whatever you do, go with somebody. And like I said, I tried rationalizing my experience, and then I read this gentleman's experience, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was really similar to me and my son's experience. And so we didn't like going on that trail after that experience. We've gone back since, but he kind of forced us off that trail. And there's about 5 or 6, there's actually 5 trails, but there's the winged creature trail is what we call it. It's actually a no-name trail. It's just an access trail, and it's more for the park to go and do their burning whenever they do their stuff with the grazing of the burning and whatnot. So it's not really like some people don't even know that it's a trail, that it exists unless you know about it. But anyway, so he kind of forced us off that trail, and we went to another trail. And when me and my kids go out there, me and my son like to go and do the trail. He's 13. And we'll go and do the trail first before the younger kids go with us, just so we know, the trails are good. And we kept seeing this turkey, and we called him Jerry. And Jerry was like our guy. He was our turkey. First time we saw him, it really scared us because we went in this big opening, and he had his back towards us, and he was on the ground, but he was bigger and he was far away, so we couldn't really see him very well. But we slowly approached him. We had this, what I would say, this weird relationship with this turkey. But for whatever reason, anytime that we have Sasquatch experience or any type of weird experience, turkey we always see them. Either we see them right before or we'll see them after. I don't know what the connection with that is. I think I might know. I think people have experienced things that could possibly be, but so we see this turkey, and I'm with all 4 of my kids, and we go down this trail, and my kids are running ahead because they see Jerry, and we keep going down this trail. Well, this bee comes and scares my kids, and they start running back, and they're like, oh my gosh, a bee, and they're freaking out, and they're like, we're done. Like, we went on this trail long enough. Like, let's go back. And I'm like, okay. I was trying to just be supportive and be like, let's go. So as we're walking back, there's these bushes, and there's probably about 4 or 5 huge bushes. They're probably about 5 foot tall. And out of nowhere, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was the monkey sound first. And I'm pretty sure that's what it was. We heard this monkey sound, and my 8-year-old daughter goes, oh my gosh, Mom, that was a monkey. And I said, yeah, you're right. That was a monkey. And then if that wasn't weird enough, then we hear this creaking door sound. And I've heard several times people talk about trees now, like they're saying that they make these creaking sounds and that it's natural and whatnot. Well, when I tell you, I have never heard a creaking door sound like this before in my like it. If this was natural, it was on a speaker box because the creaking door sound stayed in the same spot. This is what I noticed about this specific situation or this experience. The creaking door sound stayed the same in the bush. It never moved. But the monkey sound, when I would talk to it and I would say, hey, can you do that again? It would make the sound again. And it was like it was talking to me. And my daughter would go, it replied to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, it did, you know? And so my son's like, get your phone out, get your phone out. You need to be recording this. And so when I get my phone out, that's when it stops doing it. But at a point in time, it seemed like the monkey wasn't talking to me. It was talking to, and I say monkey because that's what it sounded like, but this monkey sound sounded like it was talking to the creaking door, but then it would also respond to me. So I didn't really know if it was actually really responding to us or if the creaking door was in correlation with it. But both of the sounds happened at the same time. After I tried recording it and we stood there forever, and I told Bo this, I was like, dude, I have this video of me and my kids and we're mimicking the monkey sounds, trying to get it to do it again, you know, and it's not doing it. But I went over there and I looked. It was almost like it was like walking with us. And then we would stop and we would make the sounds. And then we keep going. And it was in the bushes, but we couldn't see it. I couldn't see anything. It wasn't like we could see anything moving, but I could hear it moving and I could hear whatever it was. I thought that was so strange that I called the park because I was like, I've seen Tiger King. I've seen all kinds of weird stuff. There's private property owners around Burr Oak. So I thought, you know what? What if somebody did have a monkey and it accidentally got out? I know of a town and a place where my grandpa's sister used to live and they had monkeys on their roof. And eventually they got old enough where they got out of the cage and they were just running around on the streets. So I believe stuff like that can happen. So I call them and tell them, and the lady actually laughed at me. She was like, oh, we have never heard anyone say that there's monkey sounds in our park. And I was like, oh, okay, well, thought it was kind of strange. Thought you might want to know. Didn't tell her about the creaking door, but I was like, that lady's going to think I'm nuts. And I was like, maybe it was a bird. Maybe it was a bird and a monkey, like two birds talking to each other. And one knows how to sound like a creaking door and one knows how to sound like a monkey. I don't know, but I'm trying to rationalize everything, you know? So at the beginning of the park, there's this really cool area right behind the entrance sign where you can go behind, and there's these really amazing tall trees, and they all kind of line up, and a lot of photographers go there. That's how I found out about it. It's just a really neat area. And if you go back there, there is the access trail, but like I said, most people don't know about it, so they don't go on it. And we decided that we were going to go there for Mother's Day, and my daughter has noticed. I didn't know if I sent you guys the teepee pictures of and if I didn't, it's okay. I can send it to you afterwards. But there's these like wood structures of, it looks like a teepee, but it's made out of logs from trees. So it's not like tiny sticks. They're like huge, like full tree trunks. And it starts like full tree trunks at the top and it goes all the way down the bottom. And they've been there since I can remember. Usually there's two of them, but lately it's only been one. And it's not been very well kept up. For the next couple years, I'm going to try to see when they're built, how long they stay, like if it's seasonal, if it's not seasonal. I'm not 100% sure on this. And I'm trying not to ask too many questions at the nature center because they already think I'm nuts. So I just try to keep it at a minimum. But so we're on this trail, and before you go on it, like I said, there's that big area. And my daughter had made a little miniature version of the teepee, and she also had made a little sign, and it spells Bigfoot out of little sticks. And she just loves making little stuff like that. And so she's making this little thing. My son's trying to check out the teepee, and I just get this weird feeling that my son shouldn't go over to the teepee. I feel like it's a really kind of sacred thing. I'm not really 100% sure. If people are making it, it's very strange because it's been going on for a long time, but I kind of want to know what it is. But I just, for whatever reason, I had this weird feeling and I didn't want him to go over there. And I was like, I just don't think you should be over there. And I'm turned around, and next thing I know, I just hear this huge branch crashing through the trees. And my daughters just yell and they go, oh my gosh, Mom, did you see that? And I was like, no, but I heard it. And they're like, this huge branch came flying at us, and it didn't get anywhere close to us, but you could tell something had like hurled this branch through the trees. And we just kind of tuck that away. I didn't even think about her making that Bigfoot sign out of sticks until we got home once again. And I look at the pictures and I was like, oh, Aria, you made that cute little Bigfoot sign. And then I thought, oh, I wonder if that's why they threw the stick at us, because a cute little sign. I didn't know, but I thought maybe that was why. So we go back another day and it's just my 3 younger kids and we're on this path. And when you go around, you can go around a little area and it forks off. Well, I hadn't gone down there and I didn't know what was down there. So I didn't want to take my 3 kids because I have a lot of rules. Like, you always are to walk in front of me and beside me. You're never to be out of my sight, like missing 411 type stuff. Like, we're out here to have a good time, but we got to follow rules. So I tell them, me and your brother will go on that trail another day during the week. And then whenever we go on it and we know it's safe, then I'll take you guys. But as we're on this trail, we noticed that footprint. And I just remember my daughter saying, wow, Mom, who has no shoes on out here? And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, there's a footprint out here. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And just to begin with, I thought someone was out here just like running around with bare feet. That's really weird. And then I look at the foot and then I was like, oh, wow, that's even weirder than I thought it was. Like, it was already barefoot, but it's completely flat. And what it appeared to us at first was it looked like someone was running. So like the big toe goes so far deep that like the mud, you could see the mud was like coming up. But now kind of thinking about it more, I feel like maybe it was just the weight of the person pushing down into the mud. But right away I noticed that it was just very slender and it was completely flat. And I just thought, what in the F is this? And I've just always been taught, if you see something weird, take a picture of it regardless. And I'm a photographer, so I'm just naturally, my son kind of doesn't like it, but it's always like, just enjoy nature, quit taking pictures. And I'm like, if I didn't do this, I wouldn't have these amazing epic pictures. So just be thankful I take all these photos. But anyway, so we find that weird footprint. I'm intrigued. I'm like, okay, now I need to know what's beyond this little circle path here, because something's going on and something weird's happening. Well, in all the mix of this, I had been doing some other weird research. One of my photographer friends from Minnesota, he comes down, he has family who lives down here, and he put this little bug in my ear and he's like, hey, you know about that underground cave but where you live in your town? And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, I think there's like this cave. And he's like, I don't know really much about it, but he's like, my nephew, him and his friends, they like jump the fence and they try to go on this property, and it says it's a science and technology lab. And I was like, what are you talking about? So I like further look into this, and ends up being this man, Mr. Billings. He's like the hydrogen man or something, and he was supposed to make Kansas City into this like hydrogen city or something. And he runs, from what people have said, allegedly he has a cult. It is a church type deal. There are alleged students living in, it's not an underground cave, it is actually a 180-acre limestone quarry that was abandoned and he bought in the late 80s, early 90s, I would say. I've also read on the community awareness page when a lady asked about said cult and said underground quarry, the man said, oh, is that what all that machinery banging around that I hear underneath the ground? And I was like, whoa, okay. I know there's a waterfall down there. That's been proven. A local newspaper did an article on him, favoring him. Most people who talk about him are shut down and copywritten for talking about his alleged abuse, his alleged things that he has going on. He's actually one of the people who has online schooling for children, homeschool. And multiple parents had complained about inappropriate content that was being given to their children by this man. So this man has a lot of power. This man is been in this area for a very long time. I did a video on, it's just a very small video, but I did a Google map overview of the quarry. There's 2 entrances to the quarry. And like I said, it's 180 acres, and it is directly across from Bur Oak Woods. And probably connected, because most people said it goes underneath one of our main highways that goes through the town. So I'm assuming if it goes underneath that it's continuing to go. And there could be possible access points through Bur Oak Woods to this place. So there's a lot of things going on, but I'm in this whole finding out about this place, Science and Technology Lab. Like I said, no one really goes in and out of the tunnel cave, the quarry. But I do know that people who did say they were students and that they did try to go, that they were allegedly like kind of groomed for like 10 days. And then after they were groomed, then it was like, this is how things really are. And do you want to live here? Do you not want to live here? Almost like a really bad Amish community. Like it's my way or the highway type thing. And I think this gentleman has a lot of power. I think when, like I said, when my friend's nephew jumped the fence, a bunch of sirens went off. But I do know from many articles that I've read that other children actually got inside of the quarry. They got down into the inside, and they saw the children sleeping in the bunk beds in these rooms. They were escorted off the property by the members of the church or the science and technology school. Then the police were sent to their house the next day to talk to them about how they trespassed on the property. Not 100% sure what happened to the children after that fact, but anyone who comes near this property is just basically you have to have permission. I called the school because they offer programs for kids in like middle school and high school. You could take their schooling as well as going to school. Yeah. And I was like, oh, my son wants to know what's going on with the scientists down in that lab. And the guy's like, oh, haha, that's so funny. We could probably arrange that, but you'd have to be a student. But all schooling is online. No campuses. There's 1,000 campuses across the United States, and not a single one of them has a student in it. Everything is online. It is the strangest thing I've ever heard of. But so this is all going on, and I'm not sure what's going on in the Science and Technology Lab, but it's very, very together. It's been going on a very long time. And like, so Bur Oaks is right next to it. Well, me and my son go on that trail. Right before we went on that trail, it had thunderstormed really bad. And I think that's a really important part of the story, because so many people want to say it's a Thunderbird. But I feel like that's part of the story. So a huge thunderstorm. I didn't think we were going to even be able to go on the trail because it had stormed so bad, but we ended up going anyways. I wanted to see if that footprint was still there. We went, and it was, and it had rained, so I could tell how deep it was. And I took another picture of it because I was like, dang, that is really deep. Like I knew it was deep, but just seeing water puddling up in it, like you could just tell how deep it was. So we continue on with the trail. And I tell you, we go to the fork in the trail. And once we go to the fork in the trail, we go right. We continue to walk for just a little bit. There's a big tree when we come up on our left side. After passing that tree, there's this huge open area of grass. And I had seen weird impressions in the grass out there before. And my son's always like, you think everything's weird? Stop thinking everything's weird. But there's always these weird swirls in the grass, and I can never explain them. But the grass twirls, intertwines together, and makes almost like a circle pattern. And it'll be like a whole field, and then sometimes it'll just be certain areas of the field. But one time I saw like the whole field like that, and I thought, that is just odd, because I couldn't find any tracks from like any vehicles, because they'll drive gators out there. After I told them about the winged creature that I found, they went and drove over that footprint real quick, and they were riding all around that area because I sent them pictures and they knew exactly where it was. So they went out there. But anyway, so we're coming up on this tree, and I see this huge impression in the grass, and it had rained. So I thought, okay, well, maybe because it rained, but I'm looking at this whole field, and the whole field's fine except for this one area where, to what I thought it looked like, was two huge wings and of like a head impression. And I've told other people this before, but when my son had already stepped on it and he was already in it, but when I went to go step on it to go get in front of it to take a picture, I watched so many documentaries, and this specific documentary that I watched, this lady was talking about crop circles, and she was talking about how certain crop circles have like a geometrical pattern where it's like even numbers, and some of them are odd numbers, and certain ones have a good feeling and certain ones have a bad feeling. And you just know when you're in it what it is, the feeling that you get, and you can tell by, like I said, if it's an even or an odd. Well, for whatever reason, I remembered that instantly. I stepped my foot down on this thing, and I just remember thinking, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. That was not a good idea. I don't like this. It's like, this is not a good feeling. And I was like, but I already stepped on it, so I might as well take a picture of it. So I stand at the base of what I think is maybe where the feet are, and I take this picture of their wings. And I thought, dang, that is weird. And I tell my son, like, can you see anything that could have made this? And he's like, no, I really don't. Thought it was strange, but kept going. And that's when I turned around to take the 2 pictures that I took of the field that captured the winged creature. I had no idea that even happened. Like I've said before, it was really windy because it had stormed, and it was just super windy. So like the trees are going. So I don't know if maybe I couldn't hear it because the wind was blowing so hard, or if it was because it was so fast I didn't hear it. Because I'm going to tell you, I didn't see this one, and I didn't see the other 2 that I captured, and they were going extremely fast. So I don't even know if anyone would have even heard it. Said it was dead silent out. So my son's like, stop taking pictures. We continue on the trail. We find a creek out there. We play in the creek for a while. We're having a good time. He kind of went a little too far for me down the creek, and I couldn't really see him, and I was getting really super nervous. I was already feeling super nervous. I didn't know, probably because I saw the winged creature and I just didn't know it. But I had this weird feeling that we were being extremely watched, but I couldn't like pinpoint it. And he wanted to see how far the creek went. So he's going, and I can see like his shoulder, and I can see like part of his head. And I'm like, dude, you're going too far. Like, please stop. I'm not comfortable with this. And I don't know where we're at. Like, so I don't know where it keeps going. So, he's like trying to come back. And as he's trying to come back, and I said this before, I don't know what whoever it was said, whatever they said, but they said like one word, and it was just like Anah. And it was like in my ear, and I'm just standing there on this rock in the middle of the creek, and I'm like, I do a 360. I look everywhere. I know I could hear it because I could like feel the person like in my ear, and it was so quiet though. And I was like, I'm not going to tell my son because I don't want to freak him out. We're having a good time. Like, we're having a great time. Like, I need to push it out and just push it out. Well, this is the part where I feel like I think there's like steps to how they interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
First, they give you like the vibration, the feeling, whatever they like, they turn that on to like, you have this like instinctual feeling like that you shouldn't be in that area. It's not a good time. Like, you just shouldn't be here. If you don't listen to that, then they're going to say something to you. They're going to throw something at you. If you don't listen to that, then they're going to show themselves. That's kind of how I feel like it's gone for us. And I feel like every paranormal experience is like a thumbprint. No experience is ever the same. Every experience is different for every single person. And sometimes people don't even see the same thing. And that could be such a hard thing for people, because one of the most reliable things that we do is look at someone and say, are you seeing what I'm seeing? To validate what we're seeing, we rely on others. So it could be hard when you have an experience and you don't know if the other person's having the same experience, and you don't want to freak them out. So we end up putting our shoes back on, getting back on the trail. We're walking. I'm seeing all these tree markers, and my son knows that I pay attention to those a lot. I look for twists. I look for breaks. I look for bends. I look for X's. I'm always looking for those. And we come up on this part, and my son, like I told you, turkey, for whatever reason, turkey are always in our story. And there's a couple more stories, but I just want to tell you guys like the main one. So this specific instance, we continue walking past the creek, and my son goes, oh my gosh, Mom, look. And I was like, what? He's like, there's 5 turkey. And I was like, what? And we usually never see wildlife out there. We were just talking about this today. It is very rare. Like, we'll see squirrels and birds. That's normal. But like getting to see white-tailed deer, getting to see turkey, like those are such special moments. And the first thing my son says is, oh my gosh, Mom, Jerry has a family. He has a wife and kids. And look at Jer Bear. He's doing so good. He's just like, we're just having this moment with these turkey. And it was so cool because I'm recording these turkey. We're just like, woo, go Jerry. You know, like we're so happy for him and his family. And then we're like, okay, let's keep going. And next thing I know, we keep going and there's this tree bend. And I only know that now because when I looked back, when we kept going, that's how I remembered where the incident happened to show people. But we keep going and we're just standing there. And to me, it seemed like whatever we saw was watching us watch the turkey. But
Okay.
now that I've really been thinking about it, and I've heard a lot of things about shape-shifting, I was kind of wondering if like it was storming, so that bird was like in that field and like we came upon it and it flew in a tree, and then we were taking too long and it was like people and it left. And then I feel like maybe there was some Sasquatch out there and they didn't think we would be out there either. And for them to get away, the fastest way for them to get away to make us feel comfortable was to run away as Five Little Turkey. And I feel like the one that showed himself to us, which he could have been an adolescent because he was not big. My son said he was brown. I said he was black. But like I said, when people have experiences, sometimes you don't see the same things. But whatever this big, huge black mass was, we scared it because we saw it and it knew that we saw it and it ran. And when we had walked down the creek, the hill kept getting bigger and bigger to go down, and it's very steep. Me and an investigative team like went back and checked it out, and we ended up having to go back down the creek to access the spot that we were trying to find. But it was really steep. So whatever this was, it barreled down through the brush and down to the creek. Well, it just went silent, and it didn't continue to the other side of the creek. It was the creek was full, so we know we would have heard something splashing through the water. We didn't hear splashing. We heard nothing. It was almost as if whatever that was, it just like poof, and it was gone. And I'm freaking out because I had already found large scat, which Bo says he thought it was possibly bear scat because he used to work at a place where he used to clean up after animals. My daughter was like, it could be Sasquatch scat. And I heard you're not supposed to take those types of things home. So I just took pictures of it and did whatever. But it was a very interesting experience. And so in my head, I was thinking, okay, was that a black bear? Because there was a bear that was spotted in Pleasant Hill nearby and recently. And the lady at the nature center, oh, no, that's raccoon poop. And there's no bears around here, honey. That's not going to happen. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't tell her what we saw, but I'm like, there was something big. And instantly I was frozen. I thought you would run or, you would try to do something. No, I was like, it was almost like you're paralyzed. Like they like stun you. Like it's like a stun gun, but you can't move. And I was just like, I was just shocked. Like, and then when the sound stopped, that's when we kind of like came to, and I literally looked at my son and I said, what the F was that? And he laughed because he was nervous, but he was like, Mom, dude, I have no idea what that was. And I was like, I think that we need to go back. Like, we need to go home and like leave the trail. And my son's like, absolutely not. He's like, we need to see where this goes. And I was like, you're nuts, dude. Like, all my instincts are telling me no, no, no. And yours are like, I got to see what's at the end of this trail. So we end up going, and I'm recording this whole time. And I'm looking back probably every 3 seconds because I'm thinking, okay, is it a black cat? Is it Dogman? Is it a bear? Like, all these things are just like going through my head and I'm freaking out. Well, we end up getting all the way to the end of this trail, and it ends. You can cut through the trees and you can get to another trail. But like I said, this is an access trail. It's not a normal trail. We end up finding a big nest at the end of this trail. And now Bo says it could be the pterodactyls or it could be the Sasquatch. But all I know is when we found that nest, me and my son saw 4 white-tailed deer running up the hill away from the nest, away from the rocks. And I just remember we just barely saw them going. And my son's like, look, now there's deer. And I'm like, dude, we have seen probably every bit of nature that you could possibly imagine out here. And some, which I didn't realize until we got home. I got a pterodactyl, but I was just like, it was pretty much every cryptid you could think of was like in my area and in my zone for like 2 weeks. And someone also told me like, oh, that lady's lucky. If you heard a creaking door sound, you probably almost had a Dogman experience. And I was like, well, shoot, what if Sasquatch was like trying to like protect me, and like maybe Dogman was trying to come out and they're like, nope, you're not taking this one. We like this one. I don't know, but it's been getting pretty wild. That's all I can say. And I went down every rabbit hole I could possibly imagine. And then upon finding these, that's what encouraged me to go back to all my other photos. And I ended up finding a picture that I had taken of a cornfield and ended up finding 2 more winged things that I cannot identify.
Cryptids in the corn.
Yes.
Bum, bum,
Cryptids in the corn, no pun intended.
No, that's amazing.
A wild ride. What a fun
Like,
adventure.
that's just like, I don't want to
Yeah.
say that's like the Cliff Notes version, but there's so much more to these stories. Like,
There
it's
always
hard-
is.
It's hard. I know. And it's just like, you can't ever wrap it up in one, you know, but it's been a really cool experience. And I've like researched and done all this stuff with all these other people and followed so many people. And it's just so cool to actually be all those things. I'm like all of those people and still I'm an experiencer as well. So
Right, yeah. And when you started like studying, or I guess before we get to like what you came to through your studies or research and stuff, what do your kids think of it when they're experiencing this with you? Do they have any thoughts or?
yes, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Me and my son are very close. And when we had that Men in Black experience, I was glad that he was with me because I had someone who like knew what happened and was like a walking witness and, you know, old enough to like rationalize things with me and like talk about it and go through it. And I just became so I was already in investigating and researching my own stuff, but my son just at one point he said, and it kind of hurt, it kind of broke my heart a little bit, but he's not like that anymore. And I know he's supportive, but he just said, this is kind of ruining nature for me. And that made me really sad because, you know, I can talk about things all day and I can talk about documentaries that I watch, but like now that I'm like experiencing these things and he's experiencing these things, he already experiences things with like ghosts. I'm very sensitive to that, but I feel like bloodlines, I feel like it kind of happens that way. And I encourage it. I know a lot of parents will probably say, you know, that's just your imagination or it was the house settling or this or that.
Right.
Like I support him because I feel like if I shun that and I tell him no, then his abilities or maybe his sensitivity to that side would be, you know, like not necessarily taken away from him, but just he wouldn't be able to use it to a good, you know, ability. So I try to just like be supportive and not tell my son, you know, no, you didn't hear that. I mean, he sent me recordings at home of something banging on the door. And it just absolutely terrifies him. And he'll just lock himself in.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll be in my room playing Xbox until you get home. I'm like, I'm so sorry, buddy.
Pretty brave kid.
Yeah.
But
I
my
would
daughter's like I said, my daughter made that Bigfoot sign. They love it because I do. I feel like, but they also have their own stuff. Like to know that they were with me when I heard those monkey sounds, like that. I've heard things at Monkey Mountain before. Like we heard a holler one time. It was like right when we went out there, and I found bones out there, like a little bone pit I found one time. And we found these crazy smashed pumpkins. And I had heard this documentary where this lady said that these Sasquatch were like throwing pumpkins at them. And I was like, oh my gosh, you remember that time we went out to Monkey Mountain and we walked all the way to this point where I told him we weren't going to go any further because it was dark, it was nighttime, but I just wanted to show him where it was because he had never been there before. And when we were walking in and walking back out, we had noticed like 20 smashed pumpkins, and they weren't store-bought pumpkins. That's what I want everyone to know. They were grown wild pumpkins. And I can send you guys a picture of it too, but it was just the oddest thing. It was, and we could tell it was as if someone was throwing the pumpkins from the park area to the parking lot area. And where this parking lot area is on this back road outside of town. And you really, you have to know about it to even go there. Most people go to like the commercial parking lot where there's like baseball fields and a park and stuff like that. It's on the way opposite side of the park. But this is like an access area, horse trail area where a lot of people don't know about it. But I just thought, wow, that was so strange. And then like I said, I heard that documentary that say that, and I thought, what if they were throwing those pumpkins at people who were in the parking lot? That's kind of weird. But It's just there's so many different things that we've gone through and experienced together. And like I said, I don't go there alone, especially not anymore. I kind
I
of
wouldn't do
refuse
that
to go
anymore.
Right.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that.
And I'm telling this to everybody out there. All those people I saw today, I was with my son and his best friend, but there it doesn't matter if you're a male or female. I'm not trying to say because she was female, but I saw a lot of females out there by themselves. Definitely take a friend. I saw some ladies that did have, there was two ladies together. But regardless of human beings or mythical creatures,
Yeah.
please be safe. Do not go by yourself. If you fall and you get hurt, like at least there's somebody to help call for something, like not even paranormal. I'm just saying for your safety and well-being, don't go alone.
A lot of our listeners have heard my national park horror stories.
Where you felt with a cliff gave out from under you?
Yeah, well, yeah, I fell off a cliff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, but if there was nobody else there, I'd have just died down there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, the cliff gave out. I didn't.
From under you.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't. The cliff gave way, and I rode it down.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of epic, though. Honestly.
Right. Yeah.
I survived. So
What
it's
put
fine.
that
You
on a shirt?
survived an epic boulder surf.
I remember
Hey, he was riding the rock slide boulder.
Cynthia, our teacher, was like, don't
Slide
stand
rock.
over. And as I was turning, it everything was just a wall of rock.
Oh my gosh.
Like you're in a really fast elevator.
It was a really fast elevator.
Yeah.
Straight down. Hit with rocks the whole way down. No, it's crazy in a good way. Set of encounters you've shared. So you said a lot of those were within like a 2-week period? About
a month for okay, so the Men in Black kind of thing happened in February, and then in April, that's when all the weird stuff started happening. So I guess that incident in February, and then up until now, like all this stuff has been happening. But it was there for about like a 3-week period where it was like, like I said, the monkey sounds, and then after the monkey sounds, it was the branch that was thrown at us, the footprint, the winged creature, the Sasquatch experience, and then it was like just
the guy with the Men in Black that lunged at you and made like the sound.
Yeah.
Were you able to see any facial features or anything on him?
That was the crazy part. So we almost reenacted it today to show his friend Diesel because I don't even know how to explain it. But when he was walking towards us, so the first thing that happened was it was so dark out. We had never been out there before that dark. And we say we're not going on side quests, but we went on 2 side quests that day. And that's ultimately what made us have this experience. But when he was coming towards us, this is how I described it, but it was almost as if he spawned out of the ground. Like it's literally what it looked like. But when I think about it, I think, okay, well, he was wearing all black. So it probably just took my eyes a little time to like adjust.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that I said was, oh, thank God you're not Sasquatch. Because we're usually talking about like, what would Sasquatch do?
Yeah.
But this particular time we were talking about Men in Black, and we were talking about the Men in Black documentary that Darcy Weir and Tony did. And it's one of my absolute favorite documentaries. And I was telling him right before this happened, I was telling him about the Dan Aykroyd story where he's talking about how he was going to do this show and he had it all filmed out and they were filming and it gets canceled right in the middle. And this Men in Black guy is in this car and he drives away and, he's talking to his agent and the next thing you know, the guy's gone. And I'm telling him this story and I'm like, we love Coneheads and, this guy was on this documentary and Darcy did it and Tony. And so I'm like telling him all about this. And in this moment that we're talking about Men in Black, that's when this dude like literally spawns out of the ground. And that's when I say, oh, thank God you're not Sasquatch. And my son just like laughs and says something. And so that's when I started focusing on him because I was like, well, that's really weird. Like who comes out in the middle of the night? Like it was the park was about to close and he's in all black. And like I said, he walked by us. When he walked by us, it was very robotic. It felt very like unnatural. And it was almost as if we didn't exist. Like he was just walking past us and we did not exist. And I tried looking at him, but I just tried focusing. He walked by us so quickly. Like I said, he didn't acknowledge us. He had black pants on and a black shirt, and it was very form-fitting. I thought he had a headphone in, and I thought that's why he didn't say hello to us, but he was bald. He was white. He was just a normal build. He wasn't really super slender, but he wasn't big. And like I said, he didn't acknowledge us, not one bit. It was only when my son turned around to look at him is when I felt like that's when he interacted with us. And that's exactly how that guy described it. He said it was only until I put my binoculars up on it and got it focused on him. He said that's the exact moment that he turned around and looked at me. And he was like, and it was as if he knew I was looking at him. And that's how I felt like it was for my son, because as soon as he looked at him, Xavier was just like, he's coming towards us. And in my head, I was thinking, wait, what? Like, he just walked by us. Why would he be coming back? Maybe, and then I just hear him go, "Ugh," and I was like, I could like feel it. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
My son said F this, and he ran, like I said, he booked it. He was running to the parking lot. And I had this huge walking stick. We saw this family on the trail, and this kid had a stick, and I had my stick. I always get a stick at the beginning of the trail. I find a big, huge stick, and we called it our magic walking stick. And the mom's like, you got to have your magic walking stick. And I'm like, yeah, that magic walking stick probably saved my life today in more ways than one. But I felt like because I remained calm, I did not acknowledge him. And I just didn't let him see that he really, like, it really did for a while. Like I said, my son's like, that guy like really ruined that trail for me. Like I said, we've been back, but it took us a while. And February, March, April. So 2 months after I had that incident, on the Blue Springs community page, someone had posted how all the windows and all these cars that were parked in that parking lot at the end of the trail were all busted out. And I went to the Audubon Bird Society in my local community because I wanted to show them these pictures. The young kid who worked or who volunteered there, he was very interested in all my stories. He worked at Burr Oak Woods. He works at a different center now, but he used to work there, so he knew about the broken glass, the broken windows and all the glass and stuff. And I asked him about it. I said, "Did anybody's stuff actually get stolen?" And he was like, "I don't actually know if anybody's stuff did get stolen," but he goes, "But I know every single car's windows were busted out."
Yeah.
And I thought, isn't that weird? I was like, okay, say it was 5 people. They get out of a car and they go around and they bust out everybody's windows to rob them. That would take a significant amount of time, a significant amount of noise. So I thought that was a weird incident. And he's like, yeah, really weird stuff's been happening since April. And I was like, yeah, since spring started. I said, it's been getting a little weird for me too, buddy. Just on the opposite end of the park with winged creatures and not broken windows. But yeah, it was. So there's just been a lot of weird things. And then I find out about this possibly a gold mine little mystery going on, or gold that this man has on the property. And I think it's funny is, it's a conservation now, so nobody can dig there. So this gold's probably just going to be sitting here for who knows how long.
Don't worry. The feds will come and take care of it.
Yeah, once the government wants it,
I'm telling them about it now if they don't already know. I mean, they made a little sign. It's funny because this whole nature center is just nothing about nature, nothing about any part of the history. And then you go into this bird watching room, and there's this huge glass case, and it's the guy's headstone. It's his actual headstone, and it's in this glass case with all the history about it. And I think it's interesting. I don't think many people go in there or even know about that. And I just thought it was cool to find that out.
Talking about the guy that ran the school, like that owns that limestone quarry.
So no, not that guy. The original man who purchased the property in 1834.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the description of that guy that runs that school? He didn't look like fit that description of the Man in Black, did he?
No.
Okay,
and what I feel,
sorry.
Whoops.
I don't know if it's funny now because I told my son, I was like, wouldn't that be funny if whoever this is, which in my head I'm thinking, like, that's just where my head goes when I think about stuff and I like connect dots. I thought, what if you loved a property you owned, and you had all this lifetime that you've lived out here, and you have this gold out here, and you wouldn't want anyone to get your gold, what would you do to scare people? You would scare them away from the area. And I thought, okay, what if somebody's out here, and I'm saying somebody, but like, what if this man who probably did love his property and probably did love all this gold that he stashed around this whole entire park, why wouldn't he be out there, trying to keep people away from the area? I thought that would be a funny little, like, I don't know, what it's kind of like a little Western tale, but it just seems so,
Early's
I don't
gold.
know,
Well, no, this is a
tombstone
Dutchman's
here,
mind.
like
That's
very
a
crazy.
Dutchman's mind story.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of comments.
Yeah.
So we'll do all these and we'll talk about each kind of encounter
Okay.
before we get back to the photos. We'll kind of
Sounds
save
good.
the photos and everything for last.
Okay.
That way, just the audio only listeners aren't like hopping around.
Yeah, I agree.
First thing, the nature center you called said there's no bear. That's raccoon poop. I told you what I did for a living off air. So you've witnessed it. Joel's witnessed it. Where we go places that have volunteers at nature centers or maybe zoos. And they do not know anything. And you say something and then they're like, no, that's not true. Like, no, it is. I was actually on the team that helped discover that or whatever. No, that's not true. And then somebody gets maybe a little louder than the other person. Yeah. No, so it made me laugh because I'm like, I know what you mean by calling the
I
nature
will
center.
tell you this. I will tell you this. This is the weirdest story, and I love weird stories. When I went up there to go show them this, because they told me that the one that looks like a bat is a turkey vulture.
Sure.
And I said, well, I know what a turkey vulture looks like, but nice try. If you'd like for me to come up and show you how fast it flies, I would gladly do that. They said that they would, but I was like, I'm not even wasting my time. So then I find this scat. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I did take it home, and then I see a documentary. I didn't touch it. I did all the things, all the procedures. It doesn't ever degrade or do anything differently than how it appeared. I'll tell you that much. Then on top of that, I find this documentary that says you are not supposed to do that. Do not take Sasquatch, whatever they call it, specimens. It's not good for you to take those inside your home. It's like a taboo kind of thing. So I freak out. Well, I go up there and I'm like trying to tell this lady about this, show her this picture. And when I go to open the door, I'm the first person there. So someone's already been in there and they've unlocked the door from inside, and I'm going in the door. So I go in the door and this little piece of paper falls out of the door. And I was like, well, that's weird. So I pick up the piece of paper and it says, thank goodness dogs aren't allowed on the trails because I am so sick and tired of stepping in poop. And I was like, whoa, okay, that was weird. So I go into the lady and I say, hey, look, someone left you a note. I'm so sorry to do this to you, but here's your note. And she looks at it and I was like, it's kind of weird because I'm actually here to talk to you about poop. So here's a poop note, and I'll talk to you about some more poop when you're done looking at that. So I show her these pictures, and my 4-year-old was with me and he was looking at the 2-headed snake that they have on display right now. And he said he's got to go to the bathroom or whatever. And I show her this picture. Well, she takes my phone from me and she's like looking at it, and she looks at it for a long time. And Timothy's like, I got to go to the bathroom. I got to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, okay. I leave my phone with her. She's still looking at it. Go to the bathroom, come back. When I come back, she's got this book out. Okay. This huge book. And she's looking, and she was like, oh, I found it. I know what it is. It is not bear poop. You don't need to freak out, ma'am. It is raccoon poop. That is raccoon poop. Raccoon poop, it can be very big sometimes. Very big. And I said, well, okay, well, whatever. But I said, I just thought you should know, because not only, this is the weird part, I had been going out there every day, okay, because I was obsessed. And I'm going out there, and when I'm going out there, me and my daughters are walking up and I'm recording everything because my son's like, you need to record everything. You're going to catch something. You need to record it because you keep catching stuff. Just keep recording. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm recording. Well, we're walking up and we're on the trail, the winged creature trail. And I see what I think is a dead bird with its legs up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? Oh no. And you can hear me in the video saying, oh God, I think it's a dead bird, girls. I'm so sorry. And we keep walking up and these 2 monarch butterflies fly off of it. And then I was like, wait a second. I thought those were legs. I was so confused. I'm like, what is this? And then I get up on it. And my daughter's like, that's poop, Mom. I was like, poop? That is like huge. And she was like, yeah, it's probably Sasquatch poop. And I was like,
Yeah.
don't play with me right now. I will
Yeah.
save this and send it to a poop place and tell them that I have an upset tummy and they need to analyze it. Like, please don't play with me.
No,
But
laughing
it was just so many crazy things happened out there that, yeah. And that was one of them, was that.
I was laughing so hard because it was the same thing I was just saying, like the volunteers
Yeah.
going through a book to ID because it's just volunteers. It's not their fault. Most of the time,
I
they
know.
don't know nothing.
That's what
They
that
don't-
guy said. The guy at the bird place, I literally looked at him and he kept pausing and he would think about what he was going to say. I realized that. And then when he started doing that, it subconsciously made me do it because I'm like, now I have to withhold what I'm about to tell you because I don't want to tell you
He
too
knows
much.
nothing. He knows nothing.
But I just mean I didn't want to tell him like, oh, I'm
Right.
going out there with an investigative team called Flint
Right.
Paranormal. So don't, I don't want to tell him that. But there was a point where he would pause and he would go, and at just one point, and he's pausing and he keeps doing this, and I just look at him and I said, I know, they just don't want us to know. And he just
Mhm.
smiled at me, and he didn't say anything. He just smiled at me, and I just said, look, I know, and I know they know, but they don't want us to know, and that's fine. I said they can call me crazy, they can do whatever they want to do, but I know what I've experienced out there, and I know what I've captured, and I have proof. And that's one thing that they kept saying over and over. When I told her about the monkey sounds, she kept asking me, do you have a recording? And I said, no, but I wish I did. And she goes, but you don't have any proof,
Yeah,
right?
You
And
answered
I'm
right.
like,
You'd be shot in the back of the head.
no.
Right.
If you answer the wrong way.
I was like, wait, what? And I was so
No
confused.
proof.
And then when I sent them the pictures and they're like, it's turkey vulture, and I'm like, this is a dead end, is what this is, and I'm
Yeah.
done. And I showed it to George Knapp. George Knapp was like, dude, he's like, that footprint is so intriguing. And I was like, I know,
weird.
right? Like,
Have you
it's
seen it yet?
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a weird one. We'll get to so yeah, just with the nature centers and stuff like that. I was literally doing a survey one time with this nature center like in the front of it, and they came out. This older lady was just screaming at us about we're doing a fish survey. We have we have more legal right than you do to exist here.
Oh my gosh.
And she's just screaming at us about how she's going to call the game warden. And I just please do. I will always rather talk to that guy. I have permits from the DNR or whatever state.
Like, I'll call him for you.
We were doing federal fish and wildlife surveys and stuff like that. No, call the Fed. I don't care. I'd rather talk to that person because they're going to take one look at this piece of paper and then they're going to yell at you
Yeah.
for calling them out into the middle of
Wasting their time.
we were in nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes in between sites. So let's start breaking this down, sighting by sighting, encounter by encounter. First one, the Men in Black. What's your thoughts, Jay?
About the Men in Black?
Her Men in Black encounter. I know I have a strong opinion.
I think I do too, and I think it might be something like tied to the woods itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably think it's more of the elemental type
Yeah, I was going Fae.
thing. Fae is what, yeah.
Because they were literally so we've done a lot of research into the Fae. So Fae is just kind of a coverall term for these beings. It didn't matter what culture. The African cultures have their own words for them. The Asian cultures have their own words for them. The North American, European, South American, everybody has the same mythology when it comes to those entities. It's just changing the wording out kind of deal. They'll do that a lot. So you had on your mind a heavy thought of the Men in Black documentary. You experienced the Men in Black. Then you changed your mind to Sasquatch. And what did the Men in Black do? Yelled like a Sasquatch. So what we've done in our research and what we've shown a lot is that they're kind of like parrots in a way. Not with what you may be saying on the outside,
But
what you're feeling on the inside, they'll kind of project that back at you.
Okay.
And it's
He felt like very like almost like he was, I don't want to say not like doppelganger, but it was almost as if like say it was like a type of entity. It was almost like he was trying to appear like appear
Sure.
to
Yeah,
us
they do.
as
Yeah.
something that we would quote unquote feel comfortable with, and then
Yeah.
instantly made us feel uncomfortable once
And then
we
they
like
panic. And that's a lot of times like what we see is they kind of scramble to save the charade.
The illusion.
And it never works. It's never once all the stories we've talked about with it on the show, it's never really worked when they start changing it towards the middle. Like a lot of times we talk about with the paranormal Sasquatch, we believe a lot of those are actually the Fae that you're encountering. You go out with the mindset of encountering a Sasquatch, and you encounter a Sasquatch that's not quote unquote quite right. They may have glowing red eyes, they may be super skinny, they may look at you really weird, they may do stuff that is out of the ordinary, and it's because it, in our opinion, or at least my opinion, it's these Fae putting on a new mask, trying to interact with you, and positive, negative, and different doesn't matter. And then you freak out, and then they freak out because they really don't know what to do.
Yeah.
it's almost
Uh,
like a dog who chases a car. Like they chase it, but what would they do with it if they got it?
Right.
They wouldn't know
They're
what to do.
doing it, but I think they're intelligent. But anybody that hasn't listened, go back and listen to the Fungal Intelligence episode, because that's a really good breakdown of other types of advanced intelligences on our planet that are completely alien to us.
There you go. That's a good thing to point to.
Yeah, because it's what we're kind of talking about with these
Yeah.
paranormal entities that I believe are from Earth. They're not from anywhere else. They're just an extra thing on Earth. But their version of consciousness or intelligence may be so alien to us, interacting with us is very, very, very difficult. So you had the Men in Black heavy in your mind. Okay, they want the Men in Black. They may not know. They may be able to just get the cursory glance of what you're putting forth psychically.
Yeah.
You know, kind of deal. So like,
Like
okay,
they're projecting what my mind is. I heard some lady say something about like the collective consciousness, and like if you go out, like she went out in the woods and she forgot her like her little notepad that she was going to draw in, and she was thinking about it, and then she just finds one hanging on a tree, and she just she's like, if you can think about things, like sometimes she's like hadn't been written in, it wasn't she said it was just hanging there, like it was left there for me, and she said, and I had been thinking about it, and and there this red book was, and I thought, okay, and so what you're saying is like resonating with me of like that's kind of how it's been. Like like I said, we go out there, what would Sasquatch do, and we're just like always talking about it, and then these things happen. I will 100% say like I've researched a lot of different birds, but never was that something that I was thinking about. But my great grandma, she tracked birds for the Audubon Bird Society, and I didn't know this because she passed away when I was 2 weeks old, but she was like an avid bird watcher. She logged every single bird she ever saw from a certain point in her life until she passed away. So I feel like this is like a huge, strong connection that I have. And like, maybe this is like just part of like my spiritual journey. And
Sure.
somehow she's guiding that with these, maybe these birds are good, but like I said, I know I just had that not so great feeling when I stepped on it. Like it was something that I wasn't supposed to see or supposed to witness or something.
a lot of energy there. Yeah, it's good, bad, and different. I've said that a lot.
I didn't know if it like left something behind, like on the ground. I didn't know, but it was an instant feeling of like, oops, I shouldn't have done that.
I think a lot of it could be the primitive side of your brain versus the more advanced side of your brain being recognizing these things as potential predators.
Like instinctive feelings.
Like, hey,
that,
this
like,
is
you
not
would have
this is
had.
something way above our pay grade. We need to get out of here.
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot with all kinds of different paranormal encounters, beings, entities. It doesn't matter, because your brain, the more primitive side of your brain, is just screaming at you like, I can't kill this with a stick.
Yeah.
It's time to skedaddle. So is that kind of your same opinions on the Men in Black thing?
Yeah, I
thought
Faye.
it was.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just because it didn't like react to her until they turned around to look at it.
Blew the cover.
Yeah.
It didn't pass the test of walking by and being a man.
No,
Yeah.
it did not. It really didn't. And
And
I'll tell you, I've never side-eyed someone so hard in my life because, like I said, how he came out of the ground, or how he appeared to just like appear to us, it was just like it scared me at first, and then I was calm because I'm like, oh, it's not Sasquatch. But then I was like, okay, it's a person. It looked like a person, and I was like, okay with that. But then, like I said, as soon as he got close to us and past us, then I was like, oh no, I didn't like that. And like I said, it made my son so uncomfortable for him enough to turn around and look at the guy.
Don't
And
blame
I
your
was
kid.
like, I am not interacting with that thing at all, because it knew we were so uncomfortable. It really did.
So the next kind of one on the chopping block is the sounds.
Okay.
And do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
No, I kind of
Because
bulldogged you last time.
I don't really know what to think of the sounds.
So a monkey and a screen door. Very interesting. I'm sure you come across.
I want to say it sounded like a rusty old metal door opening.
Hey, I was going to ask that earlier.
What
if it
did
was
I
a
say?
a screen door, but she said just a wooden. You said a door earlier, opening, closing. But I wanted to ask you if you were. I was going to wait to see if you said metallic or metal screeching door.
Sorry,
opening.
yeah, it was like a metal and when I say like it sounded like it was like amplified with a speaker.
Yeah.
Like it was the most like I've heard the sounds go out when I've been walking, like where it's just like silence, where there's like no animal interactions. But this specific sound, I tell you, and I've seen and been through a lot of weird stuff. I've rented out the Missouri State Penitentiary to take creepy pictures. I've done weird stuff, and those woods, whatever it is about those woods, there's a lot of things going on out there. I think multiple. When I took the Flint paranormal people out there, both their cell phones died within like an hour of us being there. And she's like, something's trying to communicate with us, but it won't, and it wouldn't. It like the K2 meter would barely go off, but it drained both of their phone. Like they couldn't take any pictures or do anything, and I was the only one left with it. And then my camera stopped. It didn't stop working. It wouldn't work in specific areas. And I would show them, I'm like, I have something to focus on. I have room on my chip. There's nothing that should be going on. Like it would just specifically not take pictures in certain areas of the park. And I thought that was kind of weird. And she shared a lot of stories with me, but the creaking door sound, like that's one thing that I can rationalize a Men in Black person and try to make that into a human being. But that sound was just, I've heard so many things on Missing 411, but to actually hear it, like that's when I was like, dang. And my kids were like, that was a door. What's that?
We've heard it multiple times, that exact thing being described by other people.
Everyone that I've talked to says it deals with Dogman though, and that it has nothing to do with
not necessarily. We'd argue with that.
Yeah, I definitely argue with that.
And that's why I love coming on everyone's shows, because I want to hear. I am so open to anyone and everyone's opinion, because if I'm going to grow as a person or grow as a researcher, I need to be open to possibilities that I don't know about.
So that metal door is definitely connected to the paranormal, but we've done this a lot.
Yeah,
we've been doing this a long time, or not a lot, 3.5 years, but we've
almost fully 3,
counting the society.
Oh, then
3.5, 4 years.
Yeah, long time.
But I mean, hundreds and hundreds of hours of stuff, meeting people and all this stuff. That is a common thread. Comes up a lot, especially national and state parks, connected to pick any paranormal activity.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I don't care if you want to say abductions, the UN, Dogman, Bigfoot, pterodactyls, lake monsters. That sound has popped
I've always
up.
related it to Missing 411 because, and it's not that they necessarily describe like a trap door or anything, but they'll note different sounds that aren't to the, and it's hunters that are talking about this stuff. People who are in the woods their whole lives.
If you hear a metal door open and close
in the woods
in a national park 8 or 10 miles from the nearest trail, which we've talked to people that have experienced that.
Yep.
And that's not a door. That's not a traditional door.
I was gonna say
that's just the sound.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know if you think, but I think
we've shared this. Yeah.
That what we gathered is that might be the sound of a portal, or that rift opening and closing, from that, whatever they're coming from or stepping through, but that's the sound of it opening.
It makes And that's
And
a common
it happened multiple times.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I
But
don't.
we only heard one monkey, but it was directly like they were next to each other at one point, and
Mhm.
then the creaking door would like I said, it almost kind of sounded like they were talking to each other, but maybe it would just kept opening it up, and maybe it was trying to tell the others like, hey, come on.
Yeah.
Like, come
Yeah.
on. Maybe they were like trying to open it like, come on, and they were scared or something. But
Or working on maybe whatever sound they use opens it or something. So the sound of what you thought was talking could have been the frequency to pull that thing
Right.
open. I don't know.
I did
Well-
think about too, like the underground quarry. I
Yeah.
thought, what if they had like
Stranger Things.
like doors, or not door, but like metal, like almost like a sewer door. I don't know. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Hatches
Like,
or
I was trying to think of everything, man.
access door.
No, it's how you gotta be, especially when you get to these areas of high strangeness.
Right.
So to me, it sounds like, and we've talked about this with everything from Mothman to Bigfoot to Dogman, that sometimes they use the portals on purpose. Sometimes it's an opportunity, and sometimes they don't get a choice. Like when the portal opens, it may have a suction or a vacuum appear. Like so, there's things standing kind of near the other side where it opens. They get popped through. Like black bears here may end up wherever there is, just because they're in the woods. They're not hyper intelligent or anything like that, but they're in the woods. These portals open up to get sucked through that side, and then they just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've covered tons of these weird one-off cryptids that just seem like animals from somewhere else. Like they're not supposed to.
I kind of made a point to somebody else, this like the Flint paranormal lady is like, well, I just don't understand these like tree markings. Like, she was kind of asking me like what I thought about it, and I told her, I was like, look, okay, if there's like an inner world and they live there, but then they or say they're she said she was a biologist, so it took her a really long time to get to the interdimensional stage of things, but she says she's very more open to that now. But she's like, as a biologist your whole life, it's she was an older lady, so she's like, it's just hard to get to that point. But I just told her, I said, look, okay, if they are interdimensional and they have a world there, and say they have the inner world here and then they have the upper world, why wouldn't you put markings for especially younglings to understand where we go, where we don't go? Like, that's a lot of places to remember, I would think. And if you bend a tree here and you say, don't go past this, the teepees, that's where people live and that's where civilization is. Don't go by here. You don't, stay away from this area. This isn't the space for you. X means don't go this way. Maybe the bend was pointing towards the creek when we had that experience. So I didn't know if it was like that's where the creek is, like pointing, like the bend was pointing towards the creek. Like, I didn't know if that was like a sign for them to like point towards the creek. But I just always have so many different things just like going through my head of like what could be, which is good because you don't want to keep your mind closed about that.
Right.
And here's one that the community about Bigfoot really hates is, I think a lot of it could just be them enjoying making them.
Yeah.
There's significance.
Their nests are really cool. The one we found at the end of that trail when we saw the white-tailed deer, it was woven together. And that's why Bo said, well, maybe it could be the pterodactyl because like birds can make nests, And I thought, oh shoot, I didn't even think about that, Bo. Like, dang, now I thought it was a Sasquatch hideout, and now it might be a pterodactyl nest.
It was on the ground though, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought was weird. It was like it looks like the ones that I found where it's like a deer blind, but like on the floor, it's like they're camouflaged and they can watch you from behind it, but it's like it looks like a little house. And it was woven together, and that was the first time my son was like, okay, you said this like a million times, Mom. He's like, this is the first one that's like actually convinced me. And I was like, well, what like convinced you that that's what it is? And he was like, because I can see how you said how it's woven together. And so he's like slowly like picking up on little things like these not breaks, but we found a bunch of twisted branches one time in this huge tree that was placed inside of another tree like this. No way possible anybody human could have ever picked it up and put it on there. And there was no other trees in the area where it would have fallen from. And I just remember my son looking at it and he was like, dang it. Like, I can't debunk this one. Like, he loves debunking all my stuff because he's like, you know, my little debunker that walks around. But
Yeah.
he was just like, oh man, like this sucks. And there's like broken trees next to it, and then we found the bones, and he was like, all right, yeah, you got me.
With the nest, you should really look into the original Ohio grassman nests that were found, because that's exactly what they were. These
Is that the
dome-
ones with the man who had a like the tree logger guy, and he allowed them like 5 years to investigate?
No,
Is that
so
the
this
same
is
people?
all over Ohio. Like, this is a big
Oh,
phenomenon.
okay. There's this
Before-
one that I know about where a logger was gonna take out like this whole area, and he owned the
Yeah.
property, and he ends up stumbling upon it. Well, he knew these researchers, and he held off logging for like 5 years and allowed them. It's like most of the most extensive nest research, or one of them, I should say. But I think there's still some out there to this day, but they're all really worn down. But yeah, I find that very fascinating.
I think Cliff in his museum has one of the Ohio nest.
Really?
Like, they kind of
That's
broke it
cool.
apart, and chipped it out there, and
Wow.
then put it back, you know, best they could
That's
back
so
together.
neat, yeah.
But no, that's exactly. So you look at the grassman nest, they're woven grass, they're domes. You do not know it's a hidey hole until you go in it,
Hmm.
because it'd be in these big grass valleys, and it doesn't look like anything unless you crawl through this little hole, and little's relative, and then you
Right.
you pretty much walk into a room
Yeah.
that's hidden. Like, they showed like people were standing 5 feet away and couldn't see a guy in there.
Right. Yes.
So they think
That's
they were
kind of
Jews.
how they described it too.
Man,
So,
I
yeah.
wish I could
And they
get
said that there was like different sizes too. Like there was
Sure.
bigger ones and smaller ones and whatnot for the little
some
ones.
as big as your head.
Like just crazy.
Okay, so then what other encounters did you want to get into before we get into the pictures and videos?
I'm trying to think, because did you ever see, besides the bear looking thing that you called about, and you said you saw it, something big and black, right, running down?
Yeah.
And it was furry, and was that the only like Bigfoot sighting, I guess, that like physical thing you seen?
Physical sighting, yes, yeah. I've had
Nothing.
and I don't know how to describe it, but like I had like a feeling one time when I took someone out to Monkey Mountain. This was way before I got into this research, and I didn't realize it until like looking back on it. I was like, oh yeah, that was probably an experience that I had, but it was just more of like a feeling. And
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first time that we'd ever had that, and I love that. Like I said, that my son was there,
Mhm.
and he was more freaked out about the Men in Black guy than.
Yeah,
He was like
I-
pumped. He was pumped when we had this. He was like, "Dude, we got to figure out what's on the end of this trail." And I'm like, "You're crazy! Like, I'm the crazy one, and
Yeah.
you're influencing me. Like, this is not good."
But yeah, I think I'd be right there with him. A guy that just yelled at you. I've experienced crackheads in the woods.
And see, that's what that guy said. He said, we've had some real weirdos that'll like pop out of the bushes and, surprise you unclothed. He's like, but that's the local weirdo like that got arrested. He's like, what you're describing. He said he had goosebumps. Like when I read the story of the guy who also had an experience, that kid, I mean, he was younger than me too. He just said that, and he was like, please tell me more. And I'm like, buddy, I got all day. Like, what do you want to know?
All right.
Is
So-
it picture time?
Yes.
I'm ready to see stuff.
I'm
So-
excited.
Alex, do you want to start with videos or the picture slides?
Either one's fine. I think just showing everybody the videos is important just so they can see kind of how fast it's going.
All right. So I
Because
believe this
everyone
is
who looks at these pictures, they'll be like, it's a man in a wingsuit. It's a bat. That's just, they say the weirdest things. But if someone said it was a plunger, I would have looked up plunger in the sky just to see if it was that. Like I was
think-
willing to look up anything.
this first one is the one I helped on with the confessionals. Let's see about that.
And this is like this moment right here that's happening. This was me on my couch, and I'm just staring at this, going, excuse me?
I'm paused. the
So-
video.
When you took this photo and you didn't realize that was in it, right?
No. And when I'm zooming in on it, instantly I think it's a bat. Because when I held down the live photo, it just goes so fast in the picture, and it's like
Right.
2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, I have to zoom in on that because something's going on here. And the first thing that I noticed, which obviously is the 5-point, but I noticed that the skin is thinner, closer to the top of like the arm area, and so I could see more lighting coming through. So I was like, instantly, I'm like, it looks webbed. It looks like a webbed creature.
It's a
That's what
membrane.
I
It's
instantly
not
thought.
feathers. It's a membrane. Whether you want to say it's a wingsuit or whatever, that's not feathers. That's a membrane.
I can see the manta ray thing though.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Let me finish this video.
I love the far away shots of it too. Like this one, that's as far away as possible, and like the wingspan is insane. That's right before that shot is the shot before it. Wings are insane.
Thank you. The music was a little loud, a little intense.
So,
And
we're
then
gonna go through these pictures down. This is So you everybody can kind of see, like, this is the thing that I helped on with the confessionals before we got to meet Alex.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I believe this next one is that video you took just playing. Like, it's just how when you took it, just how it was. I'm going to mute it.
Okay, so this is the live photo.
Yeah.
Correct.
Just as it was going with nothing,
And it's so fast.
Yeah, very fast.
And that's why I try to zoom in the best I could and get as many different shots, but you see how fast it goes.
Yeah.
So it's only in there when you watch the whole thing, just like a handful of frames.
Very fast, yeah.
Yeah. And I was trying my best to get it coming in. Oh, see, even it changed kind of there.
Look how fast
it's flapping too. So keep in mind, everybody at home that's watching this or listening. I know this is hard to listen to.
Yeah.
This is definitely a part everybody should hop on the YouTube and kind of experience. It's flapping during this motion. So the rod phenomena, why it's mostly debunked now, is because shutter speeds are so fast on cameras. Rods disappeared,
right?
Because rods are most likely just insects,
right?
And the cameras just weren't shuttering fast enough, taking so many pictures fast enough to capture that. It was a blur because there were multiple flaps in one frame.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it caused the rod.
Oh yeah.
This camera is, a lot better than what we're talking about with the rod phenomena.
Right.
And 4 or 5 frames through it, the animals, the creature's already through. But during that whole time, you could see wings out, down, coming back up, up.
Yep.
So this is power flight. This isn't a glide. This is power flight. So for the wingsuit people, that's a big no for me personally, because when you can see the wings, you could say that he tucked in or whatever, but that one of the last frames, you can see the wings pointing straight in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A guy can't do that as far as I understand. I watched a lot of wingsuit videos before this, and I've never seen it where they close. They don't go down. So when it's over,
the head shape is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
A lot of things.
Not a wingsuit, but I'm just saying that's human arms doing that.
Well, have you seen the new ones? They're shaped just exactly
like
a pterodactyl.
You know what?
Pterodactyl helmet.
It's a drone.
Are you serious right now?
No.
Oh my gosh.
It's a pterodactyl suit.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids would love that, but that's not, and that's what any person who I show the pictures to, they will give me what, and I want that. I want you to give me your initial, like your first reaction. I want to give me that. But then when I show them the live video, that's when they go silent, and then they just are like,
It's a majorly different phenomenon you're witnessing when it's between a photo and a video.
Yeah, sure.
It's just
one about a photo.
Yeah, you can any frame from a video you can pull away.
And I love that because people, when they're watching the video, like they can clearly tell it's from my cell phone. They can see it's from my pictures, and they can see, how I'm clicking on the live video. I'm not, so many people are like, this is a fake. Tony, don't waste your time. She's a fraud. And I'm just like, I'm just a normal person like everybody else. And I'm researching things that I'm interested in. And now I just happen to find evidence.
Yeah.
So is this next photo the next time you kind of seen the creature or creatures?
Let's see. Correct. So this photo was actually taken back in October. I was on my way to, I think we were coming back. I don't think we were going to. Can't really remember. But we're on my way to visit my grandma. It was actually it was on our way to see her. She's in a memory care facility, but it was in Trenton, Missouri. It's super far away. And I love taking pictures of clouds, dude. I'm just like obsessed. And then there's this cornfield, so I'm like, even better, Jeepers Creepers. And then, I showed this to my mom because I told her, I said, look, I was so obsessed with this bird that I saw on the left side of the screen that I knew for sure had to have flown in front of us when we were driving. I'm in the back seat. My mom and my uncle are driving. And all I see is that. And I'm like, holy smokes. Like, I'm freaking out. And for a week, I'm sitting there just like obsessed with this bird, like going, this is like unnatural. It looks like if the government made a bird that was a drone and they were just trying to so they could debunk it, they just make it into a weird looking bird. And I'm just like thinking of all these crazy things. And then I go back to look at the picture and I'm like, wait a second, there's two. And I'm like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way that I caught three birds. And I did. There was one flying away and then there was one flying at us. And I was just like mind blown. I was so focused on one side of this 3 seconds that I captured in my life. And it's just this, I was so amazed that I got one. And then just to see that I got two. And not only did I get the one where it just looks truly disturbing, but when its wings are together, just like the other one, it's just straight together. To me, it looks so unnatural. And I think that one's more disturbing than the bat looking one. I just can't describe it. The wings just really creep me out.
All right. So let's try the slideshow.
Okay. Oh,
these are all the same encounter.
Correct.
I think I got it right. So anybody looking, you can see several. I have 3 of the pictures kind of pulled together from this first encounter. The really, really prominent one is in the middle with like you said, the 5 points. You can see 2 legs, 2 what appear to be wings, and the head. Now, what is unique about this is if you look at the wings in this photo, in the middle one where it's the 5 points, the wings look very, very straight. So for one thing, we don't expect generally to see that in bats, pterosaurs, or birds, where the wing, the modified hand. A lot of times the joint, there's 2 major joints. The one would be the elbow, and the one would actually be the hand. That is now the fingers. For example, for bats and pterosaurs, the finger is stretched out for the member to connect to.
I've been looking at a lot of pictures because I've been trying to find something that's even somewhat similar. Like, I reach a lot, and sometimes the wings aren't the same, but I get a lot of like the 2, like the leg type things in the back and the head height. But for whatever reason, I can't find anything that resembles the wings.
So continuing on, the head is pretty much a straight point.
Yeah.
And the legs, there's 2 what appear to be legs off the back, the 2 wings. There is one universal membrane connecting all of them, it appears to be. By that I mean it's a continuous membrane.
Yeah.
It's not like some creatures, for example, some bats only have the wing membranes. They don't have the inner connecting membrane between the legs. Some bats do. Some pterosaurs did, and some pterosaurs didn't, where it was a mix kind of bag, depending. There's so many species, and so over so much time, you're going to get a little bit of everything. One thing you really see or don't see in this middle picture, this probably for us diagnosing this or just kind of breaking down what this animal could or could not be, you don't see any tail or any sign of a tail. So even in stubby-tailed pterosaurs, in stubby-tailed bats, generally between these 2 legs, you would see one more little uptick.
I will tell you this, though. I know it's hard to tell, but if you zoom in really, really, really close to it, at the top part of if you're looking at it, it would be the right leg. there's like a little, I would say it like almost kind of looks like fluffiness.
Mhm.
And on certain pterodactyls, I've seen like
Sure. They had down. They had a
almost like a
specialized
rat
down.
tail, like a rat
Yeah.
tail or something. I don't think like I said, I'm not an expert. That's why I'm coming to you. But it appeared to look like a fluffy, almost like a rat tail. But it's so blurred that I can't
Yeah,
make
and
anything out
keep in
of it.
mind
But
this animal's moving incredibly fast.
Yeah.
right. But in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, and I'm thinking of birds, and I'm thinking of like, like their triangle shaped like tail, like that. We're not dealing with that.
Mhm.
No,
There could
it's
possibly
very
be something there, but it's so fast and so blurry. But I did notice that because I've just been obsessed with it. But I did zoom in like really super far one day, and I couldn't tell if it was the cloud behind it, but it appeared to be connected to the back part of its body.
So if we move to the right hand picture
Mhm.
here, you can actually see. So you got to take them all together. So this first one, like I said, there doesn't appear to be a joint. In the second picture, there actually appears to be a joint in the wing. You can see this nice. It's called a wing bow, where this wing has a nice curve to it. And that would indicate a joint. So as we're breaking these photos down, that's why you can't just look at one and be like, "That's what that thing is."
But you know the other one, the first one where it looks like a
V.
yeah, that weird to me it almost looks like a moth shape, but in my eyes, I felt like every shot I got of it almost like it shape shifted. Like
Sure.
it wasn't the same thing.
Moving.
Like I was so confused looking at all the different positions of it. Like the first one, I was like, wait, that doesn't even look like the same one in the middle, and that sure doesn't look like the same one at the end. Like it almost like it wasn't the same thing, but I knew it was because I clearly saw it go across the screen
Mhm.
as one.
Yeah.
But I've had so many people tell me, well, I think that you consciously have opened a door that is no longer allowed to be closed, and you're just capturing these things because your door's open to this. And that may possibly be, but
Yeah, but so you could a wing bow is always getting at that. You can't, like, for the people that were saying this is a wingsuit, you can't just take the one flat photo and decide everything about it when there's more.
right.
Because you can clearly in that photo see the right hand photo for everybody watching a wing bow there, and the other wing appears to be a curve, but the way the animal's tilting, you only
I
get
don't know.
one really good look at the wing.
I love the middle one because it is a great shot, but I feel like the one on the right side, like that just gives me pterodactyl vibes so much, and it gives me hope.
So with that though, if you look, because it's a good side profile, but it's going away from you at an angle, but there's almost no head and no tail and no legs. But you get the good shot of the wings and the back. So the back has a nice general curve to it. There's almost no head, but there's these two big wings and almost no legs. The picture on the left is a very interesting picture, probably the most interesting one on here if you could put them all three together, because it shows an extremely tall oblong creature with very flat wings. And this is the flap. This is the ending of the flap position. So the wings on a lot of species of bird, bat, and we imagine pterosaurs as well, will kind of touch when they're at the end of the power flapping stage.
Mhm.
So they'll kind of like smack together. And that's actually when we get to Thunderbirds, some of the stories they tell is that's every time the thunder would crack is when that was happening on a Thunderbird.
That's what I've heard. People say that the thunderstorms brought the Thunderbirds, but I've heard someone else say that no, it was the Thunderbirds that brought the storms and the sounds.
Yeah. So three interesting pictures all together. You've seen the video and you've seen these three pictures. What do you think this creature is, Jay?
I'm looking up photos right now.
Could
this be one of our atmospheric comb? Never mind.
No, go ahead.
Comb jelly? Like the type?
The manta ray.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know you haven't listened to a lot of our show. We literally just we interviewed somebody. We've had many specials, and the week after this comes out is a giant special of manta ray. We believe in atmospheric creatures, like creatures living in the upper atmosphere, and they come down and we experience them every once in a while. Now, the manta rays have this bump in the front. They have what appears to be two large wings, and sometimes not, they have things behind them. And these are truly upper atmospheric creatures. To me, that's more like, and I could see giant bat. I'm not saying I don't see giant bat or giant pterosaur, because really at
Right.
this point, it's arguing. If it had to, sorry, cut out there. If it had to be a pterosaur, uh, the frogmouth pterosaurs have a very short head to the body. They have almost no tail, and they would probably re-evolve into these bigger niches. So the frog-faced pterosaurs had big eyes, really like their heads were wide, but really close to the body. Because when you start looking, you ever say the word pterosaur, you think of the long neck, big comb off the back of the head, big power flyers. There were hundreds and hundreds of species of pterosaur fitting all kinds of different looks. So that, it doesn't have to be that, but like we talked about with these atmospheric manta rays, this could be a young one. I don't know fully for that, but I was one to throw out there.
What did you guys think about the grass impression though?
So we'll get to that. He hasn't seen any of this.
Oh, okay.
Yep, this is my first debut of
Oh
all.
my goodness. Oh, I'm so excited.
So the next slide is just a little bit more kind of
Okay, so that's the one. Yeah, the first one is the one I'm talking about, where I feel like it looks like almost like a moth.
I can see that.
Yeah.
See, the wings are up in this position. So everybody, it's listening and watching. The wings are in. This is all the way left to right. This is the upright position of the wings. They're starting the power flap. You can see the animal's actually on a downward angle. Starts the flap, finishes it, and starts going back up but away at a different angle. So I try to do this in what I thought was the order in which they were taken, to kind of give everybody at home the full view of the animal actively flapping and turning at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, there's no legs. And a lot of times avians, for example, will tuck their legs in. A lot of times bats and what we imagine pterosaurs will have their legs straight back. Your first photo here where you say it looks like a moth, which I agree, nothing off the back. I mean, you can kind of, if you zoom in a lot, you can it's hard because you're just looking at pixels at that point, trying to decide if is that an artifact in the pixels or is that a real thing.
And what's crazy is like you could see, because this was like the first shot of it, and you could see how the trees are so like in focus, and then the last shot you could see how pixelated it is and how much I had to zoom in to get over to that point because it flew such a distance.
Yeah, I mean, it's moving fast.
And that was the thing in the live photo that looked like, the video pretty much. We'll just call it that. Yeah, it did move so fast. And that's what made me think of the comb jellies. Just, imagine moving really fast. You might make some weird, more aerodynamic shapes to go through the air.
So as you were talking, that's why another thing we talked about that was shape shifting. They don't have bones, right? They are more gelatinous. So they kind of press and meld their shape into what they need to move.
I wish I would have known where he was coming from. Because like I said, I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like he was laying in that grass, and like when we walked up, I think he like got in a tree. So it made it think that like he was like physically here and not like But I don't know, because like I'm so open to everything, but that's what it seemed like to me. And I felt like because we were disturbing that area, that's why he flew off. Like any other bird would be, because my son had walked towards that area, and I felt like when he walked over to that area and said, "Stop taking pictures," and I was taking the picture, that's when the bird flew away, like crazy or whatever it is,
So next we got, now this is from the second encounter.
Yes. This is up in Trenton, Missouri.
So it's kind of hard to see in some of these pictures because, like you said, it's moving quite fast. But there's a wing. So left to right, let's start there. You have the very large wings, a very, very tiny body.
Yeah, the middle picture is.
I didn't mean to move on.
The middle picture is the furthest away. I tried to find where it came, like to where it came into the picture, but that's the first shot I get of it with its wings together. That one just really trips me out. Because I've seen these cryptids where it's just a ball, and then it's like little winged arms. I don't know what those things are called. They're super cute, but that's kind of what it reminded me of when I looked at it. I kind of want to get a tattoo of it now. And then when I saw that shot, I was like, the first one on the left side, I was just like, excuse me, like what? Like I want to know how long those wings are. Like that's And then Bo kind of said like you could see in the middle where it almost looks like there is a, what did you say it was called? Like where they're like he said it looked like maybe there that could be like where a hand was or something, like
Oh,
where it
sure.
bends.
The bend in the wing bow, so it's joints.
Yeah, that's
So
what he was saying.
in
Yeah.
all vertebrate flyers, you're going to have multiple sets of joints inside of a wing.
Okay.
That's just how, as far as we know, that's how it's working. You know, with every animal that's had a spine and developed flight has had the same
Yeah.
features.
That's why I was so glad I got that picture of the grass, because they kept every video I kept watching kept saying that like everyone's puzzled, like just puzzled and like amazed at how they would take off in flight with their wings so like
Big.
So
ginormous.
the reason
basically.
pterosaurs could actually fly is they had the ability to jump. So they would actually start from a downward position and actively jump to fly.
Okay.
A lot of birds have struggle with that, being that's why birds kind of limit out on their sizes, a lot smaller than a lot of pterosaurs got, because they kind of either need runways or cliffs. Like if you look at condors, California condors, Andean condors,
Yeah.
our biggest flyers today, they pretty much need extremely long runways or cliffs to get up.
I also thought if it was in the grass and I kept seeing like there was like beak holes in the grass, I thought, well, what if it was just like trying to eat what was coming out of the ground? Like if it was eating bugs because it rained and like stuff was coming out of the ground. Because at first I thought, well, maybe the beak was like it was helping it like take off. Like maybe it put its beak in the ground and like its wings and like try to like take off that way. But then I thought, well, maybe it was eating. I had no idea. But yeah, these pictures too were. This was the very unexpected one.
Yeah.
So
And I thought, wow, I have something really cool here.
really, really tiny body, big wings. You see it through all the photos. The only bird I could really put to this would be some kind of open ocean vent rider, essentially. So albatrosses and those kind of things, where albatrosses have one of the biggest wingspans on the planet, but they're a lot smaller body wise than condors and eagles and those kind of things, because essentially they use these massive sets of wings to just fly forever. Not condors, albatrosses, I believe their record is 3,600 miles without landing.
What?
Yeah.
And
So
that's with like flap power?
yeah, mostly they don't they try not to flap, but once every like couple dozen miles. And that's what they're doing. Their wings, because they have these tiny little bodies compared to these giant massive sails essentially. And they're just using gliding. They're long-term gliders, and then the ocean's kicking off these vents. They kind of propel them. So they're hyper adapted. That's why their bodies look so weird in the sky, is they're hyper adapted to just be pushed by the air currents.
Wow.
So that's the only, if I had to pick a bird or an animal to really reminds me of these photos, this set of photos, that's kind of the one I go to with the small body. It doesn't have to be an albatross, but there are several species of bird like that where they only ever touch dry land to lay eggs. They'll swim in the ocean and stuff like that, but they go thousands of miles without landing.
They're still like alive today. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So could there possibly be one in Missouri? Or
yes,
several?
yeah. So birds are notorious for ending up way outside of their range, because these animals will get sucked up by storms and deposited in the middle of nowhere, Midwest. When they're an ocean animal. One of our famous ones that I can name off the top of my head is a neotropical cormorant. Ended up here in Ohio, and he was about 4,000 miles out of his home range.
Oh, wow.
And so the best they could describe is he probably was flying over the ocean, got sucked up in a storm, got carried across the country, and then dropped off at a nowhere lake in Ohio. And that happens with birds a lot. Like birds just end up places because they can fly, because they can glide. They get sucked up in these storms. When these big thunderheads move in, they have an air current they're pushing. And a lot of times it'll kind of roll over the top of them. So if these birds get hit by that, they don't get the option to go down. They just get thrown up on top, and they kind of are along for the ride, whether they like it or not. Some examples of the few birds that fight that are condors. And that's why condors, thunderbirds kind of thing get called as the ones that bring storms. They're actually riding that wave. So if you're looking at it, it looks like this giant condor is dragging in a thunderstorm behind it.
That's cool.
Essentially, it's surfing off of the wave that this thunderstorm's pushing, and that's how they can go thousands of miles without flapping, because they're riding a wave in. So these photos remind me a lot of that. Not saying that's what it is 100%, but if I had to
Right.
pick a normal animal to kind of go with that, that's what I see here a lot.
Well, that's I feel like that's still cool anyways, because like I said, my great grandma, she tracked birds for the Audubon Bird Society, and so I feel like this is just super neat because this is not something that you see every day. And if it
Mhm.
is a a bird that has gotten out here, and there's multiple of them, it's not just one. There's
Yeah.
multiple, and they're living out there. They're doing something. I mean, that last one on the right side, that's when you're talking about this thing like gliding and like going with the wind. I was shocked that I got the one that's flapped together, like its wings together. I love that I got that because we could see, obviously it has a lot of power with its wings, but
Mhm.
I was just so glad I got that because in this one, it appears to be like what you're describing is like it's using the wind to glide.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because this one I never got its wings together, but the other one I did.
Yeah, and I can see that it's kind of was there a storm system going on at this time?
Uh, no, but I mean, you can obviously see all the clouds. So like, I don't know if maybe they just follow
Still,
with that. I mean, it was a beautiful day. It was just super sunny and just like the clouds were just like an abundance. And that's why I took that picture. I just looked out the window and I was like, gosh, that looks amazing. Like I need that. And then there that was.
they're great. Whatever it is fantastic.
Could it be a shoebill stork?
No,
Why not?
And that's why I took it to the Audubon Bird Society. And I'll tell you, like I said, that one kid, he was like so interested and fascinated. But the older lady, the one that I told that I was coming, she at first, when I walked in there, I said, look, I want to be 100% honest with you guys. This is not a joke. This is not a prank. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm here for research and I'm being serious. And when I show you these, like, I just want you to know, like, this isn't a joke. And she didn't really like stick around at first. And then she wanted to see one of them, and I think it was this one that I was showing him at the moment, and she didn't say anything, but she just didn't further engage with me any further. And her husband has since I've been there a couple times. Her husband has since talked to me a little bit about my like Sasquatch experiences and stuff, and he was just like, just don't be afraid to go out there and don't let it ruin you. And he didn't really like say yes or no, but he was trying to like be supportive, but she didn't really want anything to do with it. And I kind of felt bad because like I told Bo, I was like, dude, I don't know what her religious views are or anything, but this lady's been looking at birds her whole life. And then I show her this thing and she was probably pretty disturbed. Like, what the F is this? And who is this lady? I mean, I'm covered in tattoos, so I'm sure she was probably like, this psycho. Who's this crazy lady with these bird pictures? They look demonic. So she avoids me, honestly, but she's super nice, super sweet gal.
so here we go. These next set of photos. So on the left, you see the grass swirls. What do you think about that?
So
Well-
I see the wings. That's yeah. I wish I had the swirl pictures for you because they're more like circles, but
Yeah.
this
I wish I could see more like of the field around it and stuff too. I don't know how I fall in with like grass swirls and fields like this because I see it. You see it around here so often,
we have a lot of wheat and stuff like that.
but I think all that's like wind blown over, and
Mhm.
usually you can tell when it's like a wind pattern blown over. But sometimes it
Right.
does look really funky.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like just the other day, like last week, we were driving around, not you and me, but someone else, and just noticing how some of the wheat in this field's like pushed over, but just in like a weird, pad, nothing, no rhyme or reason why, but it wasn't like a straight line or anything, but some of it was swirled, some of it was just pushed over, and then the rest of it all around it is just standing straight up. And we just thought, wind would be the main thing, but I just don't know what it was.
This
I wish I could have got like a drone shot of this because it would.
Yeah,
it's hard when you're standing in it to see
appreciate
take a
it.
picture.
But I don't know if I sent you the video. I might have sent you the video, but it's me and my son standing there, and the trees the trees directly behind me, and he's behind me, and what it looked like was whatever it was in the main tree that when we walked around that corner, it looked like it was in that tree, and then it got on the ground and it like crawl like it almost looked like it crawled over there because there was other parts that were laid down that led to this area.
Yeah.
And then I like I said, I looked at it, and when I'm looking at it, I was like, dude, something like pressed together like down, and that's when I saw like the wings. And then
Yep.
like I said, I had that bad feeling when I stepped on it, and then I saw the holes, and I was like, dude, something was like puncturing the ground with something really like sharp and hard. And it went in there, and you could see two of them pretty well, but there was multiple of them. That's why I thought maybe it was eating bugs, because it was multiple holes, not just one. But the wing part is what like that's the part that like really stood out to me, because as I'm standing there looking at it like with my own eyes, like I'm just imagining this, and in my head I'm thinking, wow, this looks like a dinosaur, like it looks like a flying pterodactyl. And I'm like, but how would that even have happened? My son's like, oh, it was probably just the rain, it was the wind. And I'm like, you're like the people off those documentaries that talk about how porcupines mating makes crop circles. I'm like, good one, buddy. Like, that's not what this is. And like, I'm so glad I didn't want to take the picture, because I told myself I had a really bad feeling, and I was like, ew, what if this is like a crop circle type situation? And I know the feeling that I just had. And I was like, but who cares? I'm already standing on it. I might as well take a picture of it. And I'm so glad I did, because I feel like it's a part of it. I really do.
What are your thoughts on Mr. E? If this creature jumped down, and what if the two things on the back weren't legs, but were an ovipositor,
Just laying eggs in the ground.
like a cricket?
Well, you have to listen to next week's episode, manta ray sightings. Hear more about
Okay,
that.
well, I'm going to tell you, when we went back with Flint Paranormal, because they were very curious about this impression, and we looked all around, and I told her, I said, I'm telling you, this area, there's something about this area, and it's like special or whatever. We always see the turkey coming out of that area. I don't recall seeing deer, but I know I've seen turkey in that field. But she was very curious. So there's one where, and I don't know what it is, and I asked her, because I'm like, you're a biologist, so please help me. But there's one pattern of grass where it's just a straight, it almost looks like if a snake, but like a very large snake, like an anaconda, huge snake, it looks like that type of pattern where it's just like this slithery line where all the grass lays down. Okay, there's that pattern. That's one of the patterns, and I found that multiple times there. And I'm asking her, is it a deer that's walking? Is it a raccoon that's walking through the grass? Like, what is it that's making this pattern? Because I've seen it before. That's not the only weird pattern. Then I said, like, there's these swirly patterns where all the grass is literally this green grass. It's all going in the same direction, and it's swirled in a circle, and it's like a perfect circle, and all the grass is going in the same direction. And she personally said it almost looks and appears as if some type of small craft or like ore ball is like coming down and making an impression and then like going back up. That was her thoughts about it. I thought that was an interesting thought, because I kept racking my brain on what the heck could even be making these like swirls. And like I said, I've seen it before on the limestone trail, and these limestone rocks are absolutely insane. Like, they are huge. Some of them look like a dragon head. One of them looks like a person's face. We're probably just seeing it like people see clouds, but could be more to the story. There could have been petroglyphs there. There could have been monuments there before this man purchased this property in 1834. Like, we have no idea what was here before us, but there's a lot of strange things that happen out here, and I definitely know that I'm getting a lot of it. Evidence of it, at least.
All right. What do you think of the footprint?
That's pretty awesome.
It's a weird one. It's
Very
a weird
weird.
one for sure. Extremely narrow and long. Very universal as far as the picture. Yeah, these are the things with these last two are extremely hard to tell from pictures because we weren't there, right? So
yeah,
the grass, you're standing next to it, in it. You can't really see the scale or the shape. To my eyes, that you're talking about, I know it's there. It's just you can't. It's hard from pictures,
right? I guess like it's hard to see, but you see the little tiny yellow dot in the middle of the picture at the very bottom. That's the tip of my shoe.
Okay. No, on the left side.
Oh, okay.
right there.
Okay.
Yeah, right
I
in
was
the
looking at the
middle.
wrong
See,
photo.
like that little part, like that's that's my toes.
Yeah.
I got you. I was looking at the foot one. And I was like, I
Oh,
don't
that's funny.
I don't see it. No. So it's very universally deep as far as we
Yeah.
can tell from here
The
without
depth of the impression.
It may not be, that would kind of tell you. So when we're looking at like whether it's a pterosaur or a Sasquatch, whatever the creature may have been that left this, it's extremely long and narrow. You can see what appears to be a toe, and then maybe some other toes. It just didn't imprint as well.
Yeah, that
It's
part
hard
puzzles
to,
me.
it's hard
It
to
almost
tell.
looks like they don't have toes.
Yeah, it could be that too. It's just one like pad.
But then
And
if you look, I know this sounds really weird, and me and my daughters noticed this, but if you notice up where, okay, so where the big toe is and where that mud part that I told you where it comes up and it's pretty thick. If you look right directly next to that, it appears to be a toe, but it's a very weird shape. It almost looks like a teardrop. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but I did.
on the big toe on the left or the
Because
right?
it appears as if when it made the impression that little toe that's up there by the big toe is what caused the squishing to come up in between the two. Does that make sense?
The little toe on the right. I think the right hand side of the where
So
you're.
there's the big toe. Is it on the right or the left of the big
Yes.
toe?
So on the right side of the big toe, like where you can see where the mud comes up from the big toe on the right, next to that, it's covered in there's stuff inside of the hole, but it makes a shape where there is it looks like another it almost looks like they have a big toe slash I don't want to say a little toe or maybe like a claw. I don't know, but you can tell where the mud comes up because I feel like if it made the impression and it went down in it, if there wasn't another toe over there, it wouldn't have forced that mud up in between it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird one because it's you first look at it, you're like, oh, that's a footprint. But the more you look at it, it's definitely
It's not like our footprint where you'd see the
No.
heel or you'd see
I've
the ball.
seen so many footprints not footprints, but I've seen so many impressions of people's shoes, my own tracks. I've seen my son's footprints in the creek before in the mud, and it could go a little bit deep, but you can see around the edges how deep it was. And I mean, the earth moves on the left side at the bottom of it. It's clearly been there for a long time. There's grass over it. I go back a couple times and I take 2 pictures of it, and then, like I told you, once I reported the winged creature, they had their gator out there driving all around and they ran it over. I don't know if they purposely ran it over, but they ended up running it over going out there.
Yeah.
it's definitely it's a unique track. I don't know where to go with it because it's just odd. It doesn't scream pterosaur to me, just the way that I've seen a lot of their feet designed and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean it's not. We're talking
It's so flat-footed. My personal thought, and I like going down rabbit holes, but my personal thought was, okay, if there is this science and technology lab and maybe they do have access somehow through, obviously they have an underground limestone quarry, they could do whatever they want. But I felt like, what if they do have these people, say he does work and he is affiliated with people who test, I don't know, maybe there's humanoids or something, and at nighttime when the park's closed, they let all these little people out and they get to roam around in the woods all night. I don't know. I mean, that's all. I could just, it didn't look like Sasquatch to me. I just personally, I wish it was. Didn't look like Sasquatch to me, but it didn't look human it looked human, but it didn't look like correct. It didn't look correct. It didn't look like a person I know.
goblin track. Because they had one off the back and then the 2 big
and
toes.
It was, and that's why I try to describe to people, it wasn't huge. Like, that's why I didn't think Sasquatch right off. It wasn't huge, like abnormally large. It was just, it was so odd. And that's the thing that puzzled me. My daughter was like, where's the other one? But where did they go? And I was like, yeah, because it wasn't like it was like they walked on the path and then they walked into the grass, this way. They were going with the trail. They were going with us. And the foot was going this way. One story I have heard that's really kind of bothered me. I can't remember what this mythical creature is called, but there's some kind of lady and she's in the woods. And when you're following her foot tracks, she's actually going, her feet are on backwards, and she's actually going in the opposite direction that you think she's going in so that she can get you. I don't know if you ever heard of that person before, but I've heard that their feet are on backwards. So like when they make their foot tracks, you are following what you think is them, but really they were walking the opposite way and they're watching and waiting for you. And that's kind of what I thought of when I saw that, because it just didn't look normal. It looked like, oh, that could be a person, but then I was like, but where did they go?
Right.
Definitely weird, and it looks heavy because it's deep
Right.
in.
Well, they might have stepped through that metal door.
Or yeah, it was just one step out.
One step in, one step out.
Yeah.
So the last little set of photos.
Oh, this is the guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is William Clark. He's the one who was supposed to raid that guy's property at Burr Oak Woods and ultimately changed his mind. So that's why it says ruthless murderer or Civil War hero, because he ended up changing his mind and wanted to warn the guy, and ultimately had all those people ambushed and shot and killed. So it says his restless spirit placed him in the middle of the Missouri-Kansas border wars, and you know, he might still be out. He might be out there too.
Could be his track. What we got here?
So this is the gentleman. There's his headstone. James Morgan Walker. Like I said, he purchased the 2,000 acres from James Lewis in, what does that say, 1834. He had, what do you say, like 100 horses, 30 slaves. And there are rumors of hidden gold. That part, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going out there with a metal detector. It's going to find me out in Burr Oak Woods with a metal detector.
Or you'll find something, I'm sure.
Oh, well, I know that we can't do anything, but like I said, when you go down the path, the limestone trail, about halfway through before you get to the limestone rocks, there's still the foundation is still there. So like the rocks for the foundation of where the houses were are still there. The well is still there. There's a well. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff out there just in general about the history of it. But now knowing all the stuff that I know that's really going on out there, it's just like I can't stop going out there. I love it. I'll probably be out there when I'm 80 years old taking candies to Sasquatch. So
maybe you'll find the door then.
What was that place we talked about where it was like a prospector? He had found that gold like deposit.
The Indiana gold.
Was that Indiana?
No. It's the Lost Dutchman's mine. It's out west.
Okay, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's out west. Or he was a Dutchman. He made peace with this Native American tribe out there. They showed him this cave of gold. So it's called the Dutchman's Mine or Lost Dutchman's Mine. He never told anybody about it. He would just come into town literally with like a pound of gold every couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it was almost always in just a couple big nuggets. And he'd been threatened and all this stuff. And the Native Americans out there always protected him. He was the only white guy that tribe had ever liked. And so when he died, it was a hunt for it, which caused, I'm trying to remember right now. It's super late. I'm tired. But that caused a local Native American war with the white settlers because the mine was in their territory. All these white people went out there looking for the gold mine that happened to be underneath where these Native American people were trying to live, and they killed each other. And nobody ever found it. It's still being looked for this day. But there's also the Pennsylvania one that is Mormon gold stash that was probably found last year or the year before. Like this company was so close, this private company. They came in one night and their facility had been raided by the feds. The hole had been dug at 10 more feet. They had security photos or video of like trucks going away with material.
Really?
And then they were allowed to go back onto their site.
Wow.
Never found anything. So, yeah, is there big piles of gold in this country? Yes.
absolutely.
Will you be able to find it? No.
Is it on conservation property? Probably so.
And here's the last one for the night.
Life After Order number 11.
Just talking about the Walker family.
They gathered as many worldly possessions as they could and packed into a wagon and crossed the Missouri River into Clay County, where they lived until the war ended. Upon their return, they found their homes destroyed. All family possessions were gone, and James Walker died in 1866 at the age of 72. So yeah, those houses that I told you guys about that they built on their property that was out there, they had those moved, deconstructed and moved to this place called Missouri Town, 1855. And you can go there and all these actors are dressed up and they don't break character. And it's like you're in 1855 and you get to go to the blacksmith shop. You get to go to all the different little houses. They have a guy who takes care of like the mules and the cows, and it's really neat. It's really interactive, and they talk to you about anything and everything you want to know about that time. So it's pretty cool. So you can actually go and see this man's house that he had, and learn a lot about some pretty cool history, honestly.
That's awesome.
We should do something like that.
Sure.
Start an 1800s village again, but actually just live that lifestyle.
There was a lot of, in Missouri, in my state alone, there's a lot of quote unquote Thunderbird reports of like school kids being picked up in like schoolyards and like dropped. I know of a specific incident that a man investigated, and when the child was picked up and then dropped, it traumatized the boy so badly that I think when the man said he came back like 2 years later and the kid was like 12, the child had completely all white hair because of the stress and like the trauma that he endured being picked up by that creature. And I thought, whoa, it kind of reminds me of like X-Men when that girl had like that silver part in her hair. Yeah, like that's what it reminded me of. It was like he was so like who knows what that creature, like if it is interdimensional, like what it did by touching him and like just the trauma that it caused him. But that story always stuck in my head. And then I see these pictures that I got and I think, do I even want to go out to Burr Oak Woods? That thing's gonna pick my 4-year-old and just like fly off with him, and I'm not even gonna see it. He's literally like, when we think about missing 411 and like where do people go and like they get dropped, it's like, are you getting picked up by one of these pterodactyl things and no one sees it because it's so fast and it's so quiet and then they just drop you? Like what? Like
you need to look up the video. You need to look up the video of this last winter of the bald eagle snatching that 2-year-old.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. See,
everybody's fine, but the bald eagle literally was like, they're playing in a park and it's in the middle of winter and the 2-year-old's all dressed up and she's talking to her 4-year-old. This big old bald eagle comes flying in, grabs the 2-year-old, gets him like 10 because it just didn't get a good hold on him. And the kid was fine because he was like the Christmas Story kid, all bundled up so tight he bounced a little.
Oh my gosh.
And the kid was fine, didn't go to the hospital, and I'm like didn't need to. The talons never hit him.
Well, 2-year-olds are pretty bouncy.
They are. I've watched it.
Yeah, they have to be like
right.
Bounce back. Yeah.
All right, I'm exhausted. This
is awesome. I'm very glad.
Yes.
We had the picture portion attached.
Yeah. No, it's a unique aspect for our show. Like I said, most times, we've had very little photo evidence and nothing to this extreme of having so many, good things to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
But Alex, thank you again for coming on. If you can, go ahead and shout out your Instagram again, and I'll put the link for it in the description below.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's Ashae, so ASHAE_photography. You can find me on Instagram. Follow me, message me if you got any crazy stories or any theories on what you think any of these experiences that I've had might be. I'm open to anything, all positivity though, like just no negativity. I just try to spread love and just knowledge and trying to close the gaps of what we don't understand, because that's where it's at. Like there's no unknown or paranormal. It's just closing the gaps of our knowledge and understanding what is really going on around us and being open to that. So I appreciate you guys so much for taking the time to talk to me and all the jokes and just your guys' thoughts. Like it's so appreciated. I'm so honored to be here talking with you guys.
Well, we're all here to close that gap together.
Here we go. All right. We like to end the show the same way with everybody. So we're going to count down from 3. We'll all scream by and then the outro will play.
Okay.
All right. If you're ready, let's do it.
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to Cryptids of the Corn podcast. Remember, the best way to support the